Welcome, brave souls, to the misty forests and rainy streets of Washingtuna, land of soaring mountains, deep fjords, and towns steeped in history. But behind the stained glass and echoing choirs lie churches where the sacred meets the supernatural, where candles flicker without wind and doors slam at night with no earthly explanation. Tonight, we venture into the 25 haunted churches in Washington, where doors slam at night, places where shadows linger in pews, ghostly voices call from the choir loft, and the spirits of the departed refuse to rest. These churches are more than houses of worship. They are haunted sanctuaries where history and horror intertwine. St. James Cathedral stands as one of Seattle's most striking landmarks, its towering spires and Gothic architecture commanding attention from downtown streets. Yet beneath the beauty of its stained glass windows and vaulted ceilings lies a reputation steeped in mystery and paranormal intrigue. For decades, visitors and staff alike have recounted experiences that suggest the cathedral is more than just a place of worship. It is a space where unseen forces linger and where the spiritual and supernatural intersect in subtle, often unsettling ways. The first and most commonly reported phenomenon involves the doors themselves. Visitors have spoken of entering the cathedral, only to hear the heavy wooden doors slam shut behind them without any wind or physical cause. Security personnel have recounted checking the building after hours, finding doors closed that were previously left open. Some describe the doors moving with a deliberate force, as though someone or something is guiding them, an unseen presence asserting its awareness of those who enter the sacred space. This recurring activity creates an atmosphere of unease, even among the devout who come seeking solace and reflection. Inside, the cathedral is alive with more subtle disturbances. Shadowy figures are often glimpsed along the aisles and near the pews, fleeting silhouettes that vanish when approached. Tourists and worshippers alike describe the sensation of being watched, a quiet awareness that something unseen is moving among the pews and along the towering columns. These figures often appear near the stained glass windows or under the arching ceilings, blending with the dim light that filters through the colored glass, giving them an ethereal, almost otherworldly appearance. Some witnesses insist that the shadows are not merely tricks of light or imagination, describing distinct shapes and even movement that is consciously deliberate. Whispers are another frequent occurrence. Visitors report faint chanting or prayers that seem to emerge from the very walls of the cathedral. The voices are often unintelligible at first, carried on the still air, only to gradually coalesce into recognizable fragments of sacred words or hymns. The whispers appear strongest in the chapels and alongside aisles, places where the architecture creates natural echoes and reverberations. Some claim that the chanting seems responsive, quieting when they speak, or moving to another area of the cathedral when they change position. These auditory phenomena have been recorded by staff using sensitive audio equipment, confirming the presence of sounds that cannot be easily explained. Candles throughout the cathedral also display strange behaviors. Flame flickers that defy natural drafts are often reported, along with instances of multiple candles extinguishing simultaneously without air currents. Some witnesses claim that the flames respond directly to their movements or emotional state, flaring when they approach and dimming when they retreat. During evening services or nighttime visits, these subtle changes in light create a tangible tension, an awareness that the environment itself is reacting to invisible forces. Photographs taken by visitors occasionally capture streaks of light or blurred shapes around candles, further deepening the mystery surrounding the cathedral. Even the sacristy and other service areas are not immune. Staff members describe footsteps in hallways when no one is present, doors opening or closing of their own accord, and objects shifting subtly on tables or shelves. Keys, books, and ceremonial items have reportedly been found in different positions than where they were placed, leaving caretakers questioning whether this is a result of misplacement or a conscious, unexplained movement. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena makes the cathedral a consistent site of paranormal interest. Historical context adds another layer to these occurrences. St. James, Cathedral has been a central place of worship since its construction, and over the decades, countless events, ceremonies, gatherings, and even moments of tragedy have taken place within its walls. Some suggest that the spirits of past clergy, parishioners, or visitors remain tethered to the space, their presence manifesting as shadows, whispers, and flickering lights. The architectural design itself, with high vaulted ceilings, echoing chambers, and secluded chapels, may contribute to the sense of lingering energy, amplifying both natural and supernatural phenomena. Visitors' personal experiences vary widely but often share common threads. Some come seeking spiritual reflection and leave with the sensation that something watched over them, guiding their movements through the nave. Others enter with skepticism and find themselves startled by sudden noises, inexplicable chills, or brief glimpses of figures at the edge of vision. Even those attending regular services sometimes report moments when the ordinary seems suspended, when the cathedral itself appears alive with presence beyond the physical. St. James Cathedral also attracts paranormal enthusiasts and researchers, drawn by its long-standing reputation. Investigators often set up equipment to detect temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic fields, and audio anomalies. Many report unusual readings, particularly in the side aisles, near the choir loft, and around the altar, where the combination of acoustics and architectural complexity seems to amplify subtle energies. While no definitive proof of spirits has been documented, the sheer consistency of eyewitness accounts over decades creates a compelling narrative of a haunted cathedral. Despite or perhaps because of these unexplained occurrences, St. James Cathedral continues to draw crowds, serving both as a center for worship and a place of intrigue. Visitors leave with stories of shadowy figures, flickering lights, and whispered prayers that linger in memory long after they depart. Whether the experiences are the echoes of history, heightened perception within a sacred space, or manifestations of lingering spirits, they contribute to the cathedral's mystique, transforming it into more than a building of stone and glass. It becomes a living testament to the unseen forces that some claim inhabit the world, a place where the sacred and the spectral intertwine, and where every footstep may awaken echoes from the past. St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral in Seattle is a striking example of Gothic architecture, its towering spires and intricate stonework drawing the eyes of visitors from across the city. But beyond its architectural beauty and spiritual significance, the cathedral has earned a reputation for unexplained and ghostly activity. For decades, parishioners, staff, and curious visitors have recounted eerie experiences that suggest a cathedral is a space where the boundaries between the physical and the supernatural are thin. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves the cathedral's doors. Visitors often speak of doors slamming shut on their own, even when hallways are empty and no wind blows through the corridors. Staff members have described moments when they find doors closed that were previously open, or slightly ajar doors that suddenly swing shut with a force that seems intentional. Some witnesses insist that the doors move as if guided by invisible hands, an unseen presence making its presence known. These incidents are often sudden and startling, leaving those inside the cathedral with a heightened sense of awareness and, for some, a lingering unease. Inside the nave, the atmosphere is equally unsettling for some. Cold drafts sweep through the pews even on warm days, chilling visitors without warning. People have described the sensation of icy fingers brushing against their shoulders or arms as they sit quietly, an invisible presence moving through the rows of wooden seats. Others report an intense feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes are following their movements from the shadows. These sensations are often strongest in the cathedral's oldest sections, where centuries of worship and history may have left residual energy. Shadowy figures are another frequently cited occurrence. Witnesses have glimpsed shapes drifting near the altar, standing silently along the aisles, or moving along the corridors during late-night visits. These figures are often described as faint and indistinct, yet unmistakably human in form. Some parishioners claim to have seen a tall figure near the altar, dressed in flowing garments, disappearing when approached. Others report shadowy movements that seem to mirror their own, as if an unseen presence is rehearsing gestures from long ago. These fleeting apparitions contribute to a pervasive sense that the cathedral is alive with echoes of the past. Doors are not the only parts of St. Mark's that seem to have a life of their own. Candle flames flicker in ways that defy natural drafts, sometimes dimming or brightening without any apparent cause. Visitors describe how the candles seem to respond to their movements, or even to their emotions, flaring when they approach and gently dimming when they step away. The effect is subtle but profound, creating an almost tangible connection between the physical space and something beyond it. Some photographs taken by visitors and staff have captured blurred lights or streaks near candles, adding to the mystery of the cathedral's haunted reputation. Even the side chapels and sacristy are not exempt from unusual activity. Staff have reported footsteps echoing through hallways where no one is present, and doors opening or closing on their own. Objects, from hymnals to ceremonial items, have been found, moved, or displaced without explanation. Some caretakers believe these incidents may be manifestations of the cathedral's past clergy or parishioners, their spirits remaining tied to the building long after death. Whether these movements are the result of human error, structural quirks, or genuine paranormal activity, the pattern of unexplained events is consistent enough to warrant serious consideration. Auditory phenomena also play a significant role in St. Mark's haunting. Visitors describe faint whispers, the sound of soft chanting, or even distant hymns that seem to emanate from empty corners. These sounds are often subtle and fleeting, but they carry a weight that many interpret as spiritual or supernatural. Some have reported hearing these voices respond to their movements, rising and fading in rhythm with their position in the nave. During late-night visits, the combination of whispers, distant echoes, and creaking wooden floors can create an unsettling experience, as though the cathedral itself is alive with unseen activity. The history of St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral may provide context for these experiences. For centuries, it has been a center for worship, community events, and reflection, and countless lives have intersected within its walls. Some suggest that the spirits of past clergy, parishioners, or visitors linger, bound to the cathedral by memory, devotion, or unfinished business. The Gothic architecture, with its soaring ceilings, echoing chambers, and secluded chapels, may amplify these occurrences, allowing subtle energies to manifest in visible or tangible ways. Many visitors have reported that the combination of sights, sounds, and sensations creates a powerful, almost immersive experience. Even those entering with skepticism often leave with a heightened awareness of the cathedral's strange ambience. Phantom footsteps, cold drafts, flickering lights, and shadowy figures are described with such consistency that they have become part of St. Mark's enduring identity. Some parishioners accept these occurrences as spiritual in nature, interpreting them as reminders of the sacredness and history of the space, while others view them as haunting mysteries that defy explanation. Paranormal investigators have taken an interest in St. Mark's, often using audio and visual recording equipment to capture evidence of the unusual activity. Many report strange fluctuations in temperature, unexplained noises, and fleeting visual anomalies, particularly near the altar and the upper galleries. While no conclusive proof of ghosts has been obtained, the accumulation of eyewitness accounts over decades paints a compelling portrait of a cathedral alive with unseen presence. St. Mark's Episcopal Cathedral remains a place of worship, reflection, and mystery. The slamming doors, icy drafts, ghostly figures, and flickering candlelight create an atmosphere that blends the sacred with the supernatural. Visitors leave with stories that linger in memory and experience that is at once beautiful, haunting, and unforgettable. Whether these phenomena are the result of spiritual energy, residual echoes of history, or something beyond human understanding, they form an essential part of the cathedral's character, transforming it from a simple architectural marvel into a living, breathing testament to both faith and the unexplained. Holy Names Academy Chapel in Seattle stands as a testament to both spiritual devotion and architectural elegance. Its high ceilings, Stained glass windows and solemn pews reflect decades of reverent worship. Yet beneath this serene exterior lies a reputation for ghostly activity. For years, staff, students, and visitors have reported encounters with unexplained phenomena that suggests the chapel is more than just a historic site. It is a place where the echoes of the past remain vividly present. One of the most frequently reported phenomena involves phantom footsteps. Visitors often hear the soft, deliberate tread of shoes across the wooden floors when no one is present. The sound moves along the aisles, pauses at the pews, and sometimes ascends to the upper galleries. Some witnesses describe the footsteps as following them, even when they retrace their steps or remain still. The pattern is unsettlingly human, leading many to believe that the spirits of former occupants are still walking the halls, attending to their daily routines long after life has left them. Doors in the chapel are another source of unexplained activity. Numerous accounts tell of doors swinging open or slamming shut without any discernible cause. On some occasions, these movements are sudden and violent, startling anyone nearby. Staff members have discovered doors closed that they left open or ajar, as if an invisible hand had intervened. These events often occur during quiet hours, particularly at night, adding a chilling element to the otherwise peaceful atmosphere. Many visitors have noted that the doors sometimes appear to respond to movement in the room, suggesting the presence of intelligent activity rather than random occurrences. Shadowy figures are among the most compelling reports at Holy Names Academy Chapel. Witnesses have described shapes moving across the altar, standing silently near the choir area, or gliding along the aisles. These apparitions are often dressed in choir robes, and some seem to mimic the gestures of prayer or ritual. A number of visitors have recounted seeing a tall figure adjusting the music sheets, as if preparing for a service that never came. Others claim to have seen a group of figures lined along the pews, their faces indistinct but their presence undeniable. The consistency of these reports lends credence to the notion that spirits of nuns or former students continue their routines in the chapel. Auditory experiences also form a significant part of the chapel's haunted reputation. Many visitors report hearing whispers that rise and fall, echoing across the empty space. Some describe soft chanting, reminiscent of hymns or prayers, that seems to come from the corners of the chapel or from above in the balcony. These sounds are often subtle but deeply affecting, evoking a sense of solemnity and otherworldliness. Several accounts describe the whispers as responding to movement, rising in volume as visitors pass certain areas, further reinforcing the idea that the chapel is inhabited by unseen presences. Cold spots are frequently reported throughout the chapel. Even on warm days, visitors often feel sudden drops in temperature along the aisles or near the altar, sometimes accompanied by a sense of being watched. Some describe invisible touches on their shoulders or arms, brief but distinct, as if guiding or nudging them. These experiences are often accompanied by the other phenomena: phantom footsteps, flickering lights, and shadowy figures, creating a layered and immersive haunting that many find both eerie and compelling. The history of Holy Names Academy may provide some context for these occurrences. The chapel has been a center of learning, prayer, and community life for generations. Nuns and students lived, taught, and worshipped within these walls, forming deep emotional connections to the space. Some believe that the spirits of these women remain bound to the chapel, their devotion so strong that it persists beyond death. The choir robes, footsteps, and ritualistic movements reported by witnesses may be echoes of these past lives, a spectral continuation of daily routines and sacred practices. Objects within the chapel also appear to be influenced by unseen forces. Visitors have reported music sheets shifting on the choir stands, hymnals opening to random pages, and candles flickering despite the absence of drafts. Some caretakers have found ceremonial items moved from their usual places, suggesting an unseen hand at work. These subtle movements contribute to the overall impression of the chapel as a space alive with both spiritual and supernatural energy. Many who have spent time in the chapel describe a feeling of connection, as though stepping into a realm where the present and the past overlap. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile experiences makes Holy Names Academy Chapel a uniquely immersive environment. Even those who initially approach with skepticism often leave with stories that defy easy explanation. Footsteps that follow, whispers that call their name, and shadows that vanish when approached. Paranormal investigators have also taken interest in the chapel, using recording equipment to capture anomalies. Some report unusual fluctuations in temperature, faint audio signals, and visual phenomena that appear on camera but are absent to the naked eye. While definitive proof of spirits remains elusive, the accumulation of eyewitness testimony over decades paints a vivid picture of a place steeped in lingering presence. Holy Names Academy Chapel continues to serve as a site of worship, education, and reflection, but it is also a place where the echoes of the past remain tangible. The phantom footsteps, swinging doors, shadowy figures, and whispers form a haunting chorus that merges history, devotion, and the unexplained. Visitors leave with a sense that the chapel is not merely a building but a living testament to the lives and spirits of those who once walked its halls. St. Paul Cathedral in Yakima stands as a monumental landmark of faith and architecture, with soaring ceilings, intricate stained glass windows, and an atmosphere that has inspired worshippers for generations. Yet beneath its stately exterior, the cathedral has long been known for experiences that defy explanation, giving it a haunted reputation that intrigues both locals and visitors alike. From sudden door slams to shadowy figures, St. Paul Cathedral seems to hold the lingering presence of those who have walked its halls in life, continuing their devotion long after the last service has ended. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are doors that move of their own accord. Visitors frequently recount instances where heavy wooden doors swing open or shut with no apparent cause. At times, the movement is subtle, a slow creak or gentle push, but in other cases, the doors slam violently, startling anyone nearby. Staff members have described entering rooms or corridors to find doors closed that they had left wide open, or swinging ajar as if inviting someone in. These occurrences are often accompanied by a sense of unease, as though invisible hands are interacting with the cathedral itself, responding to movement or presence in the space. Whispers are another hallmark of St. Paul Cathedral's paranormal activity. Many visitors report hearing soft voices drifting along the hallways and aisles, often too faint to discern clearly but unmistakably human. Some describe the murmurs as prayers or quiet chants, as though the spirits of the departed are continuing their devotions. The whispers are sometimes experienced when one is alone, amplifying a sense of being watched or followed. They can shift from one side of a corridor to another, suggesting movement from unseen entities, and often stop abruptly when attention is focused, adding an unsettling quality to the encounters. Shadowy figures are frequently seen in the nave and side chapels. Witnesses have described silhouettes kneeling in prayer near pews or slowly gliding along the aisles. Some observers claim to see clergy-like forms moving through the cathedral as if preparing for a service that will never occur, while others note smaller shapes, possibly of past congregants, kneeling or bowing at altars. The consistency of these reports over decades suggests that the spirits of those who worshipped within St. Paul Cathedral remain attached to its sacred spaces, perpetually engaged in rituals that define their devotion. Temperature fluctuations add to the cathedral's eerie atmosphere. Visitors have reported sudden cold spots, often accompanied by the appearance of a shadow or the sound of footsteps. These drops in temperature are more pronounced in areas associated with heavy activity in the past, such as the choir loft, side chapels, or near the altar. Some have described the sensation of an unseen presence, brushing past them or standing close enough to be felt, but never seen. These tactile experiences reinforce the impression that the cathedral is inhabited by spirits that are sensitive to the living. Other phenomena include flickering lights and the occasional movement of objects. Candles seem to dance on their own, casting erratic shadows across the floor, while hymnals or prayer books sometimes appear to shift or fall without explanation. These events often occur during quiet hours when no one is around, leading many to conclude that the cathedral itself is a conduit for lingering energy, reflecting centuries of devotion and life within its walls. The history of St. Paul Cathedral may provide insight into the intensity of its haunting. For generations, it has been a center of worship, community gatherings, and spiritual guidance. Clergy, students, and parishioners have spent their lives within its walls, forging deep emotional and spiritual connections to the space. Many believe that the spirits present are those who, in life, dedicated themselves entirely to the cathedral and its mission, remaining bound to the structure in death to continue their devotion. This is supported by numerous reports of figures appearing in prayerful postures, performing gestures associated with rituals, or moving through the building in ways that mimic past routines. Paranormal investigators have occasionally documented anomalies within the cathedral. These include sudden drops in temperature, unusual electromagnetic readings, and faint audio recordings of whispers that cannot be attributed to environmental causes. While definitive proof of spirits is elusive, the repetition of similar experiences among multiple witnesses lends weight to the idea that St. Paul Cathedral is a place where the veil between the living and the spiritual remains thin. Visitors often describe a mixture of awe and trepidation. The cathedral's majestic architecture inspires reverence, but the paranormal occurrences create a sense of stepping into a space where time is layered and the past coexists with the present. Footsteps echo where no one walks. Doors swing with invisible force, and shadows kneel in prayer long after the last congregant has departed. These experiences leave a lasting impression, as if one has glimpsed a world beyond the ordinary, where devotion transcends life itself. In many ways, St. Paul Cathedral embodies the intersection of history, faith, and the unexplained. Its haunting is not malevolent. Rather, it is a reflection of the dedication and presence of those who came before. Phantom footsteps, whispers, flickering lights, and shadowy figures all contribute to the cathedral's reputation as a place where the spiritual and the material coexist. Visitors leave with an undeniable sense that St. Paul Cathedral is alive in a way that goes beyond bricks and mortar, a place where the echoes of prayer, the devotion of the faithful, and the presence of spirits continue to resonate long after the final service has ended. Immaculate Conception Church in Bellingham is a striking example of Gothic Revival architecture, its pointed arches and towering stained glass windows drawing the eye skyward. The church has long been a center of faith, community, and history, but it is also a place where many have reported encounters with the unexplained. Tales of cold drafts, slamming doors, shadowy figures, and ghostly singing have circulated for decades, giving the church a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the area. Visitors often notice sudden, inexplicable drops in temperature as they walk through the nave. A warm summer afternoon can quickly feel like a winter-esque evening when one stands near the altar or under the towering arches. These cold drafts sometimes follow individuals, rushing past them with a chilling touch, while other times they seem to move through the building independently, sweeping along pews, staircases, and corridors. Longtime parishioners have recounted the sensation of standing in a perfectly quiet space, only to feel a presence nearby, as if unseen eyes were watching their every movement. Doors moving without cause are another common experience at Immaculate Conception. Heavy wooden doors have been known to swing open or slam shut when no one is near. Some visitors have described entering a quiet chapel to find doors they left open now firmly closed, while others have reported doors banging in succession, echoing through the church as if an invisible congregation were in motion. The randomness of these occurrences, combined with the weight and solidity of the doors, makes it clear to witnesses that something beyond ordinary explanation is at work. Shadowy figures are often reported near the stained glass windows, where the morning sun casts intricate patterns on the floor. Witnesses describe dark, human-like silhouettes appearing along the sides of the building or near the choir loft. These figures are typically fleeting, vanishing when approached, yet their presence is unmistakable. Some appear to be robed, suggesting clergy or worshippers from the past, while others move with a fluid, almost ethereal grace, gliding silently across the stone floors or lingering near the pews. The figures are rarely malevolent. Rather, they seem bound to the church itself, replaying gestures and movements reminiscent of rituals performed decades or even centuries ago. Perhaps the most haunting experiences involve the choir loft. Several visitors and staff have reported hearing the faint strains of singing when no one is present. On silent nights, the ethereal voices echo down the aisles, rising and falling as though a ghostly choir is rehearsing for a service long ended. The singing is described as harmonious, beautiful, and unmistakably human, yet impossible to attribute to any living source. In some cases, those who have heard the music also report other phenomena: flickering candlelight, cold drafts, or the sound of footsteps pacing the upper galleries further, reinforcing the sense that the church is alive with unseen presences. Flickering lights are another common element of the Immaculate Conception's haunted reputation. Electric lights sometimes dim or blink in rapid succession without any electrical fault, particularly near areas with frequent paranormal activity. The combination of shadows cast by the stained glass windows and the sudden change in illumination creates an unsettling atmosphere, as if the church itself is subtly shifting to reveal or conceal its spectral occupants. Witnesses often describe the lights responding to movement, either their own or that of unseen figures, adding to the impression that the building is attentive, aware, and interactive. The church's long history contributes to its haunted reputation. Established over a century ago, Immaculate Conception has been a site of countless ceremonies, from baptisms to funerals, weddings to vigils. Each event leaves an imprint of energy, particularly moments of intense emotion or devotion. Many believe that the spirits haunting the church are those who felt a deep connection to it in life. Whether clergy, choir members, or devoted parishioners, the ethereal activity may reflect their lingering attachment, a desire to continue worshiping, singing, or simply remaining present in a place that defined much of their existence. Staff and volunteers have recounted a variety of other unexplained events. Occasionally, books or hymnals shift position on pews, candles flicker or extinguish without reason, and footsteps echo along corridors where no one walks. These incidents often coincide with other phenomena, such as cold drafts or fleeting shadows, creating an immersive and unnerving experience for those present. Some long-term volunteers report a combination of fascination and unease, noting that while the occurrences are rarely threatening, they are impossible to ignore. Visitors often leave the church with a profound sense of awe and reflection. The combination of architectural beauty, historical significance, and paranormal activity creates a space where the sacred and the mysterious intersect. Encountering a shadow near a stained glass window, hearing ghostly singing from the choir loft, or feeling a cold presence brush past provides a unique, almost cinematic experience, as if the past has momentarily returned to participate in the present. St. Mary's Catholic Church in Vancouver stands as a remarkable example of Gothic architecture, its towering spires and pointed arches drawing the eyes of parishioners and visitors alike. The church has long been a center of faith, reflection, and community gatherings, but it is equally known for its unsettling paranormal activity. Over the decades, reports have accumulated of doors slamming with no apparent cause, pews moving on their own, and ghostly figures materializing near the altar. These experiences have given the church a reputation as one of the most haunted sites in the region, attracting both curious visitors and paranormal enthusiasts seeking to understand the mysteries within its walls. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at St. Mary's is the sudden slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, some centuries old, have been known to swing open or shut with alarming force, startling anyone nearby. Visitors entering an empty chapel often find doors they left ajar, now tightly closed, while others have experienced a series of slams, echoing through the nave as if an unseen congregation were moving about the space. The unpredictability of these occurrences contributes to the eerie atmosphere of the church. reinforcing the sense that the building is alive with unseen forces, attentive to the movements of those within. Alongside the slamming doors, there are frequent accounts of pews shifting or rocking without any visible cause. Parishioners and visitors have described the sensation of stepping into a perfectly quiet sanctuary only to hear the subtle creak of benches moving, as if occupied by invisible worshippers. Sometimes the movement is gentle, a subtle swaying that seems almost natural, but at other times it is sudden and forceful, leaving those present with a shiver of unease. These inexplicable motions suggest the presence of spirits tied to the church, replaying gestures and routines that they followed during their lives. Shadowy figures have been observed near the altar, often appearing and disappearing within moments. Witnesses describe dark, human-like silhouettes standing in quiet reverence, sometimes robed or indistinct, as if mimicking the movements of priests or clergy from generations past. The figures are fleeting and elusive, vanishing when approached, but their presence leaves a lasting impression on anyone who sees them. Some visitors claim to have felt a profound sense of being watched when these apparitions appear, a sensation that combines awe with an undeniable chill. The church is also known for the sensation of invisible hands brushing past individuals in the corridors and along the aisles. This phenomenon is frequently reported in areas where the architecture creates narrow passageways or shadowed alcoves. Those who experience it often describe a brief, icy touch, as though a presence is guiding, warning, or acknowledging their passage. Though these encounters are generally not threatening, they contribute to the overall feeling that St. Mary's is inhabited by spirits who linger long after the last service has concluded. Flickering lights add another layer of mystery to the church. Visitors have noted that electric lights sometimes dim or blink in rapid succession without any electrical explanation, particularly in areas near the altar or alongside aisles where paranormal activity is most frequently observed. The effect can be disorienting, casting shadows that seem to move independently of natural light, heightening the sense of otherworldly presence. Witnesses often interpret the interplay of light and shadow as a form of silent communication from the unseen, a reminder that the church's history continues to resonate in the present. The long history of St. Mary's contributes to the frequency and intensity of these phenomena. Established over a century ago, the church has hosted countless services, weddings, funerals, and community gatherings. Each event carries emotional energy that, according to many paranormal investigators, may linger within the space. These residual energies can manifest as cold drafts, shifting furniture, fleeting shadows, or even faint sounds echoing from unseen sources. Some believe that the spirits haunting St. Mary's are former parishioners, clergy, or faithful attendees who feel a continuing attachment to the sacred space. Staff and volunteers at the church have often recounted their own experiences. Some describe hearing footsteps pacing in areas where no one walks, witnessing doors close or swing open without explanation, or seeing candle flames flicker erratically in empty rooms. Occasionally, these experiences occur in combination: a shadow seen near the altar accompanied by a sudden cold breeze, or the sound of footsteps matched with a pew shifting in the adjacent aisle. The accumulation of these small but persistent events has cemented St. Mary's reputation as a site where the spiritual and the physical intermingle in ways that defy conventional explanation. Visitors often leave the church with a mixture of reverence and unease, encountering a shadowy figure, hearing an invisible brush of hands, or witnessing a door slam without cause, evokes a profound sense of history and mystery. The Gothic architecture, with its soaring arches and intricate stained glass windows, amplifies these experiences, creating a space where the sacred and the spectral converge. Many leave with the feeling that the spirits are not malevolent, but rather bound to the church by devotion and memory, replaying rituals and movements from lifetimes long past. Grace Episcopal Church in Olympia is a striking example of historic architecture, its pointed arches and stained glass windows drawing visitors into a space of reverence and reflection. Yet, beneath its serene exterior, the church has long been the site of unusual and unsettling activity. Over the years, parishioners, staff, and curious visitors have reported a series of paranormal phenomena that suggest the presence of lingering spirits. From doors slamming violently with no apparent cause to shadowy figures gliding silently across the aisles. The church is widely recognized as one of Olympia's most haunted locations. One of the most frequently reported occurrences at Grace Episcopal is the sudden and forceful slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, some decades old, have been observed moving on their own, often startling those who enter. Witnesses describe situations where a door left slightly ajar will suddenly swing shut with a resounding bang, echoing through the empty sanctuary. Sometimes, multiple doors slam in succession, as if an unseen congregation is moving through the church, unseen but undeniably present. These unexplained events leave a chilling impression, reinforcing the sense that the building itself is alive with unseen forces. Lights flickering without explanation are another hallmark of the church's paranormal activity. Electrical systems often behave normally during the day, yet at night or during quiet moments, bulbs in the nave and side aisles flicker, dim, or flare unexpectedly. Visitors have reported standing in a perfectly still room, only to see lights blink in sequence or pulse in a way that suggests intention. The interplay of illumination and shadow contributes to an atmosphere of heightened suspense, with dark shapes appearing to shift along the walls or near the altar. Some interpret these sudden changes in light as communication from the spirits, subtle gestures of acknowledgement from those who linger long after life. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most unnerving of all reported phenomena. Witnesses describe dark silhouettes moving across the pews, sometimes pausing near the altar or along the aisles, before vanishing without a trace. These figures are rarely fully formed, often appearing as vague shapes or mist-like forms, yet their presence is unmistakable. Many who have seen them report a sensation of being watched, a weighty awareness that seems to follow their movements. In some instances, the figures are described as robed or cloaked, resembling parishioners from centuries past, while others appear more ephemeral, as if made entirely of shadow and memory. The sensation of cold drafts and sudden temperature changes is also commonly reported within the church. Visitors have described icy gusts sweeping through the sanctuary, especially near the altar, pews, or corridors. These chills often coincide with other manifestations, such as the flickering of lights or the appearance of shadowy forms, suggesting that the experiences are interconnected rather than isolated incidents. Some parishioners interpret these cold spots as residual energy from past events, or as the presence of spirits performing routines that once guided their daily lives in the church. Doors, lights, shadows, and cold drafts are often accompanied by subtle but unmistakable sounds. Footsteps echo in hallways where no one walks. The soft creak of floorboards betrays invisible movement, and faint whispers can sometimes be heard in the quietest moments. Choir members have occasionally reported hearing the sound of invisible voices harmonizing, or faint rustling near empty pews, as though unseen participants were attending a service long concluded. These auditory experiences, when combined with visual and tactile phenomena, create a sense that the church is inhabited by spirits who remain devoted to their rituals and routines. Staff and volunteers who spend time at Grace Episcopal frequently recount personal encounters that reinforce the church's haunted reputation. Some have witnessed doors swinging open or closed without anyone nearby, while others report lights dimming or pulsing in otherwise empty rooms. Shadowy figures often appear when least expected, gliding past a hallway corner, pausing near the altar, or lingering near the entrance only, to vanish when approached. Those who experience these phenomena commonly describe a mix of awe, fear, and reverence, acknowledging both the beauty and the otherworldly nature of the church. The history of Grace Episcopal contributes to the intensity and frequency of its paranormal activity. Established many decades ago, the church has been a center of worship, community events, and life milestones, including weddings, baptisms, and funerals. Each of these events has left behind emotional energy that, according to many paranormal investigators, may persist within the sacred space. The spirits haunting Grace Episcopal are often thought to be former parishioners or clergy, bound to the church by devotion, memory, or unfinished business, replaying gestures, movements, and rituals long after death. Visitors often leave Grace Episcopal with a mixture of reverence and unease. The church's Gothic architecture, with its soaring arches, intricate woodwork, and colorful stained glass windows, amplifies the haunting experiences, creating a space where the sacred and the spectral coexist. Witnesses leave with vivid impressions of shadowy figures near the pews, doors slamming without cause, cold gusts along the aisles, and faint whispers echoing through empty corridors. Many interpret these experiences not as malevolent, but as a continuation of devotion, a lingering presence of those who once dedicated their lives to the church. St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Tacoma is a historic landmark with a long-standing reputation for paranormal activity. Its Gothic-style architecture, with towering spires, stained glass windows, and intricate wooden carvings, creates a sense of reverence and awe for all who enter. Yet, beneath its serene and sacred exterior lies a history of unexplained phenomena that has intrigued and unsettled visitors for decades. Witnesses report a wide range of ghostly occurrences, from doors slamming with no apparent cause to phantom footsteps echoing in empty hallways. The church seems to hold the memories and presence of those who once worshipped and served within its walls, lingering long after their earthly lives ended. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at St. Joseph's is doors slamming violently on their own. Heavy wooden doors, some original to the building, have been seen swinging open or shutting with sudden force. Parishioners and visitors alike describe moments when a door left slightly ajar will crash shut, echoing through the sanctuary or the narrow corridors. On some occasions, multiple doors slam in succession, as if invisible parishioners are moving through the church, unseen yet undeniably present. These occurrences often leave witnesses startled, their hearts racing, and a lasting impression that the building itself is alive with unseen forces. Phantom footsteps are another hallmark of the church's hauntings. Visitors report hearing the creak of floorboards or the shuffle of shoes where no one is physically present. These footsteps often follow the main aisles or the corridors leading to the sacristy and side chapels. Some staff members recount moments when they turn a corner expecting to see a fellow worker, only to find the hallway empty. Yet the sound of retreating footsteps continues. The experience is frequently accompanied by the sensation of being watched, as if unseen eyes are tracking every movement. Eerie chanting is another phenomenon often reported at St. Joseph's. Even when the church is empty, witnesses have heard faint voices singing or chanting prayers. The sounds are sometimes indistinct, carried softly from the walls or ceilings, and they seem to originate from areas long unused or from above the vaulted arches. Choir members and parishioners have described hearing these chants echoing through the nave late at night, long after all activity has ceased. The chanting is often described as solemn and reverent, as if spectral parishioners or clergy are continuing rituals from decades past. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most unsettling of the reported manifestations. Witnesses describe dark silhouettes moving near the altar, in the pews, or along the side aisles. These forms are often kneeling in prayer, suggesting that they may be spirits of former parishioners or clergy maintaining their devotions even in the afterlife. Some figures are fleeting, appearing only for a moment before vanishing, while others seem more substantial, casting shadows that linger on the floors or walls. Many who encounter these apparitions report a deep sense of reverence mixed with unease, as if standing in the presence of the departed who remain bound to the church by faith or unfinished devotion. Cold drafts and sudden temperature changes also accompany the hauntings at St. Joseph's. Visitors often feel icy gusts sweep across the nave, corridors, or chapels, even when doors and windows are securely closed. These chills sometimes coincide with other phenomena, such as doors slamming, footsteps, or chanting, creating a multisensory experience that reinforces the sense of a presence beyond the natural world. Some parishioners believe that these cold spots are manifestations of spiritual energy or residual emotions from centuries of worship and prayer. The church's long history contributes to the intensity of its paranormal activity. Established over a century ago, St. Joseph's has served generations of parishioners, hosting baptisms, weddings, funerals, and daily masses. Each of these events carries emotional weight, and according to paranormal researchers, such energy can remain embedded in a location, giving rise to the experiences reported by visitors. The spirits that inhabit the church are often thought to be devoted individuals, bound to the place by faith, routine, or the powerful memories of a life once lived within its sacred walls. Visitors to St. Joseph's frequently recount personal experiences that reinforce its haunted reputation. Some have witnessed doors swinging open or closed when no one is near, while others have seen lights flicker inexplicably or noticed shadows moving in the corners of rooms and aisles. The presence of ghostly figures near the altar or kneeling in the pews has been reported by both staff and visitors, leaving a strong impression of a living connection to the past. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates a powerful atmosphere of the uncanny, making each visit a deeply immersive experience. For many, the haunting is not necessarily malevolent, but carries an aura of reverence and history. The spirits of past parishioners, clergy, and choir members are believed to continue their rituals and prayers, maintaining their devotion long after their mortal lives ended. Doors that slam, footsteps that echo, chants that drift through the air, and shadowy figures kneeling in prayer all contribute to a sense of continuity, linking the living with those who came before. First Methodist Church in Seattle is a striking example of Gothic Revival architecture. Its tall spires and intricate stained glass windows drawing visitors from across the city. Yet beneath its sacred exterior lies a history of unexplained phenomena that has made the church a focal point for paranormal interest. Late at night, when the streets are empty and the city quiet, the building seems to take on a life of its own. Doors slam suddenly without wind, shadows flit across the walls, and invisible presences make themselves known in ways that defy logic and explanation. Witnesses and parishioners alike describe sensations that are both unsettling and strangely reverent, as if the church itself is aware of the footsteps that echo within its halls. One of the most commonly reported occurrences is the sudden slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, some original to the building, have been observed swinging open or shutting with no apparent cause. These incidents often happen in the main sanctuary, side chapels, or corridors that lead to the altar. Visitors have described the sensation as being momentarily caught in a physical force they cannot resist, as if unseen hands have moved the doors with intent. The sound of slamming echoes through the church, filling the space with a noise that startles and commands attention, leaving witnesses to wonder whether the building itself is expressing displeasure, warning, or merely drawing attention to its own history. Shadows are another hallmark of the church's hauntings. Across the aged walls and along the floors of the sanctuary, witnesses have reported fleeting shapes moving independently of any light source. These shadows often appear along corridors or near the pews, disappearing as soon as one focuses on them directly. Some observers have described seeing figures that seem to walk purposefully toward the altar, only to vanish before reaching it. The appearance of these forms often coincides with a feeling of being watched, a subtle but persistent sensation that someone or something is aware of your presence. For many, these shadows feel more like echoes of past congregants, rather than threatening entities, lingering as reminders of lives once devoted to worship. Unseen touches are another strange phenomenon reported at First Methodist. Visitors have described the sensation of gentle guidance, as if invisible hands are leading them to specific pews or toward the altar. Some parishioners have said they felt nudges or brushes against their shoulders while walking through empty corridors late at night. These touches are often described as light and fleeting, yet unmistakable, leaving an indelible impression that the building is inhabited by presences that wish to communicate. While the experience can be eerie, some interpret it as comforting, a spiritual acknowledgement or an invitation to participate in the sacred energy lingering in the space. In addition to physical sensations, Many have reported auditory phenomena, whispered voices, faint prayers, or distant echoes of hymns have been heard drifting through the sanctuary, particularly during quiet hours when no one else is present. Some parishioners claim to hear conversations from rooms long unused, as if the spirits of former clergy or congregants continue their routines from decades past. These whispers often seem to guide, warn, or communicate, though the content is typically indecipherable, leaving listeners with a sense of mystery rather than fear. The combination of faint sound and movement creates a multi-sensory experience that reinforces the sense of another presence within the church. The architecture and history of First Methodist Church contribute to its haunting atmosphere. Established over a century ago, the church has been the site of countless services, ceremonies, and community events. The building has witnessed baptisms, weddings, funerals, and late-night prayer sessions, each leaving an emotional imprint. According to paranormal researchers, such emotional energy can linger in structures, producing the phenomena reported by modern visitors. The spirits that may inhabit the church are thought to be devoted individuals, bound to the sacred space by faith, ritual, or unresolved devotion. Personal accounts abound from both parishioners and visitors. Some have seen shadows moving along the nave during evening services, felt invisible hands guiding them to kneel in prayer, or heard doors slam with no natural explanation. Others have noticed lights flicker or chandeliers sway without cause, often in tandem with other manifestations. The consistency of these reports over decades has contributed to First Methodist's reputation as one of Seattle's more active paranormal sites, attracting curious researchers and adventurous visitors seeking to experience the unexplained firsthand. While the phenomena at First Methodist Church can be startling, many describe the experience as awe-inspiring rather than malevolent. Shadowy figures, sudden gusts of wind, slamming doors, and unseen touches are often interpreted as remnants of faith, echoes of devotion, or guardianship from those who once walked its halls. Visitors frequently leave with a sense that the church is more than brick and glass. It is a living repository of spiritual history where the faithful continue to linger, guiding, observing, and maintaining a presence long after their mortal lives ended. St. Michael's Church in Olympia is a historic structure that exudes both architectural beauty and an air of mystery. Built in the early 20th century, its tall steeples and intricate stained glass windows have drawn visitors and worshippers for generations. Yet beyond its spiritual and aesthetic presence, the church has developed a reputation for unexplained phenomena. Over the years, parishioners, staff, and curious visitors have reported a range of strange occurrences, from sudden door slams to ghostly figures pacing the aisles. Many believe these spirits may be former clergy members or devoted parishioners who remain tethered to the church even after death, their presence lingering as echoes of past devotion. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at St. Michael's is the slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, some original to the church's construction, have been known to close with violent force or swing open without warning. These incidents often happen during quiet hours when no one else is present, and the sudden noise can be startling, echoing through the sanctuary and corridors. Some visitors describe doors slamming repeatedly in quick succession, as if an unseen hand were communicating or guiding them. The sound is not only startling, but also creates a sense of presence, a feeling that the building itself is alive with unseen activity. Cold spots are another common feature of St. Michael's paranormal activity. Visitors often report walking down warm hallways, only to encounter sudden, icy drafts that chill them to the bone. These cold spots frequently appear in areas where the church is empty, such as the nave, side chapels, or the vestibule. Some describe the temperature drops as more than just physical. They carry a distinct sensation of being observed or accompanied by something unseen. Often, these chills are accompanied by flickering lights, the subtle creak of floorboards, or distant whispers that seem to float through the empty air, amplifying the sense of supernatural presence. The aisles of St. Michael's Church have also been a site of mysterious sightings. Shadowy figures are frequently reported pacing slowly along the central nave or near the pews. Witnesses describe the forms as dark and indistinct, vanishing when approached, yet leaving behind the impression of movement and intent. Some parishioners believe these figures may be spirits of former clergy members, lingering to maintain a watchful eye over the sacred space they once served. Others suggest that devoted parishioners, tied to the church through years of worship and community, may also linger, their presence manifesting as these fleeting, almost ethereal shadows. In addition to visual phenomena, auditory experiences are common at St. Michael's. Visitors frequently report faint whispers that seem to come from the corners of the church or echo from the balcony. Some hear footsteps following them along the wooden floors, while others describe hearing the soft shuffle of robes or clothing, as if a person were walking silently just out of sight. Occasionally, distant murmurs rise to the sound of a voice chanting prayers, though no one is present. These sounds often coincide with other anomalies, such as doors slamming or lights flickering, creating a layered experience of the supernatural that engages multiple senses. The history of St. Michael's Church may offer insight into the strange occurrences. As one of Olympia's oldest parishes, it has served countless congregants over the decades. Baptisms, weddings, funerals, and nightly prayers have all contributed to the church's deep emotional energy. Paranormal experts often suggest that buildings with long histories of human activity can retain residual energy, manifesting as hauntings or unexplained phenomena. Whether these manifestations are protective spirits, echoes of past devotion, or something else entirely, the repeated experiences reported by visitors indicate a persistent presence. Many accounts emphasize the subtlety of the activity rather than overtly terrifying encounters. The ghostly figures in the aisles, the sudden cold drafts, and the slamming doors are often brief yet memorable, leaving witnesses with a sense of the church's living history. Choir members have described feeling unseen presences guiding them to the correct positions during rehearsals, or gentle nudges prompting the turning of sheet music. Some visitors walking through the nave have sensed invisible companions alongside them, as though the spirits of past congregants were silently sharing the journey through the sacred space. The architectural design of St. Michael's amplifies the effects of these phenomena. High ceilings, long corridors, and reflective surfaces create natural echoes, making ordinary sounds appear strange or magnified. Dim lighting and the play of shadows across stained glass windows can make fleeting movements seem more dramatic or sinister. These architectural features, combined with the emotional and spiritual history of the church, create an environment where subtle anomalies are intensified, drawing attention to the presence of something beyond the ordinary. Trinity Episcopal Church in Seattle is a historic landmark known for its soaring architecture, intricate stained glass, and rich spiritual history. Built in the late 19th century, the church has been a center of worship, community gatherings, and spiritual devotion for well over a century. While its beauty and history draw visitors from across the city, Trinity Episcopal Church has also developed a reputation for paranormal activity. For decades, witnesses have reported unusual occurrences, doors slamming violently without explanation, ghostly whispers drifting through empty corridors, and shadowy figures in robes moving silently across the aisles. These experiences suggest that the church holds more than the memory of worship. It carries echoes of the past in ways that continue to intrigue and unsettle all who enter. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Trinity Episcopal Church involves its doors. Heavy wooden doors, some original to the structure, have been known to slam unexpectedly, even when the building is empty. These slams are sudden and often accompanied by a distinct vibration that reverberates through the floors and walls, startling visitors and staff alike. Some parishioners describe repeated door slamming, almost as if an unseen force is signaling or attempting to draw attention. The noise is not only startling, but also contributes to a sense of presence, a feeling that the church itself is alive with unseen energy, aware of those who walk its halls. Alongside the slamming doors, cold drafts and ghostly whispers are frequently reported. Visitors have noted icy spots in the pews and corridors, sudden chills that appear without any draft from the outside. These cold spots often coincide with the sensation of being watched, a subtle yet unmistakable presence that cannot be attributed to ordinary causes. Whispered voices, faint and almost imperceptible, are sometimes heard drifting through empty areas. Witnesses describe these whispers as fragmented prayers, murmured warnings, or even soft chants, as if the voices of past clergy or devoted parishioners linger to maintain a spiritual watch over the church. Shadowy figures are among the most striking experiences reported at Trinity Episcopal Church. Visitors have seen fleeting silhouettes in robes gliding silently through the nave or along side aisles. These figures often appear at the edge of perception, vanishing when approached, leaving only the impression of movement and intent. Many parishioners believe these figures could be the spirits of former clergy members, maintaining their devotion long after death, walking the halls they once served. Others speculate that these figures might be faithful parishioners, tethered to the church by decades of devotion and ritual, continuing their silent vigil even in the absence of the living. Another remarkable phenomenon involves spectral candles appearing on altars. Several witnesses have reported seeing flames burning on altars where no candles had been placed. These flames flicker naturally, casting shadows across the walls, yet vanish when one attempts to approach or inspect them closely. This occurrence is particularly striking because it suggests not only a visual manifestation, but also a presence attempting to recreate the rituals of worship. Some parishioners interpret this as a comforting sign, evidence that the devotion of past congregants continues in spirit, while others find it unnerving, a reminder that the boundary between the living and the spectral is thin within these sacred walls. The history of Trinity Episcopal Church provides context for these experiences. For over a century, the church has been a site of countless religious ceremonies, community gatherings, and personal milestones. Baptisms, weddings, funerals, and nightly prayers have infused the space with strong emotional energy. Paranormal experts often suggest that buildings with long histories of continuous human activity can retain residual energy, creating an environment where past events replay subtly through time. In the case of Trinity Episcopal Church, the repeated reports of slamming doors, cold drafts, shadowy figures, and phantom candles indicate a persistent presence, one that seems intertwined with the church's spiritual and emotional history. The architecture of Trinity Episcopal Church amplifies these effects. Its high ceilings, long corridors, and reflective surfaces naturally echo sounds and distort shadows, making ordinary movements seem more mysterious. Dim lighting, coupled with the colorful reflections of stained glass windows, can create optical illusions that give fleeting figures a more substantial presence. Combined with the emotional weight of decades of worship and devotion, these architectural features create a setting in which subtle anomalies become magnified, and visitors are drawn into an immersive experience of the paranormal. Visitors often describe the activity at Trinity Episcopal Church as subtle rather than overtly terrifying. The slamming doors, the fleeting shadows, the icy spots, and the flickering candles are brief yet memorable, leaving witnesses with a sense of the church's living history. Choir members have shared accounts of feeling invisible guidance during rehearsals, as though unseen presences were helping them find their place or follow the music. Parishioners walking down the aisles sometimes report sensing companions, invisible yet tangible, guiding them toward the altar or pews. These interactions, though fleeting, create a connection between the present and the past, between the living and the unseen. St. Joseph Parish in Vancouver is a historic place of worship, known for its soaring ceilings, intricate stained glass windows, and long-standing role in the community. For generations, parishioners have gathered within its walls for Mass, weddings, baptisms, and funerals, leaving a deep imprint of human devotion. Yet beyond its spiritual and architectural beauty, St. Joseph Parish has long been associated with unusual and sometimes unsettling phenomena. Visitors and staff alike have reported experiences that suggest the presence of spirits who have not entirely left the church, lingering in the halls and pews long after their earthly lives ended. One of the most commonly reported occurrences at St. Joseph Parish involves doors that slam unexpectedly. Heavy wooden doors, particularly those leading to side chapels or storage areas, have been known to close with sudden force, even when no wind or human presence is near. Witnesses often describe these slams as abrupt and loud enough to echo across the nave, startling those nearby. In many cases, doors swing back and forth as if pushed by an unseen hand, sometimes repeatedly over a matter of minutes. Parishioners and visitors have described the sensation as though the church itself is alive, aware of their presence, or attempting to communicate in a way that defies explanation. Alongside the slamming doors, moving shadows are frequently observed. These shadows are often described as human-like, gliding along the pews or along the walls, sometimes pausing as if observing those in the church. They appear most often during quiet hours, such as early mornings or late evenings, when the parish is nearly empty. Witnesses report that the shadows move independently of any light source or reflective surface, creating an unsettling sense of being followed or watched. Some have even described the shadows as wearing the forms of old parishioners, perhaps spirits of those who once worshipped regularly, continuing their devotion from beyond the grave. Cold drafts are another phenomenon frequently reported at St. Joseph Parish. These sudden chills can appear without warning, sweeping down the aisles or across the nave. Visitors often describe feeling a cold hand brush their shoulders or neck, or walking through an invisible barrier that chills the body even on warm days. Unlike ordinary air currents, these drafts seem purposeful, following individuals as they move through the church, lingering at pews, doorways, or near stained glass windows. The parish's long history provides context for these reports. For over a century, St. Joseph Parish has hosted countless ceremonies, community events, and daily worship. Baptisms, confirmations, funerals, and evening prayers have infused the church with profound emotional energy. Paranormal experts often note that spaces with extensive human activity over long periods can retain residual energy, and in some cases, this energy manifests as ghostly activity. In St. Joseph Parish, the combination of emotional intensity, historical significance, and architectural design may contribute to the recurring reports of doors slamming, shadows moving, and cold drafts. Architecture plays a key role in these experiences. The high ceilings, long hallways, and reflective surfaces of St. Joseph Parish naturally amplify sounds and create shifting patterns of light and shadow. Candlelight, sunlight streaming through stained glass windows, and artificial lighting can all interact to make ordinary movements appear spectral. In dimly lit areas, a flicker of light or a moving reflection may take on the appearance of a shadowy figure. Yet the consistency and frequency of reported phenomena suggests that what visitors are witnessing goes beyond simple optical illusions or architectural quirks. Parishioners have also described subtle interactions that feel more like communication than mere observation. Some report feeling guided to pews or altars by an unseen presence, while others sense that they are not alone even when the church is empty. Choir members have mentioned feeling invisible hands gently directing their movements or guiding them during practice, as though spirits of past performers remain invested in the rituals of worship. These interactions, though fleeting, create a profound sense of connection between the living and the unseen, blending history, faith, and the supernatural into a single, immersive experience. In some cases, visitors have heard faint whispers or murmurs echoing through the church. These sounds are often reported as unintelligible, yet unmistakably human in nature, drifting along corridors or across the nave. They may coincide with the sudden closing of doors, the shifting of shadows, or the chill of a ghostly draft, creating an overall sensation of an active, aware presence within the building. While some interpret these occurrences as unsettling, others see them as evidence of enduring devotion, a reminder that St. Joseph Parish continues to hold the energy of generations who worshipped there. St. Mary's Church in Spokane stands as a testament to centuries of faith and devotion. Its Gothic architecture rising gracefully above the city streets. The spire stretches into the sky, and the stained glass windows filter sunlight into colored patterns across the nave. For generations, parishioners have gathered here for Mass, weddings, baptisms, and funerals, leaving the church steeped in the echoes of devotion and human presence. Yet alongside its sacred atmosphere, St. Mary's has long been associated with unexplained phenomena that unsettle even the most devoted visitors. Those who explore the church late at night often report experiences that suggest the lingering presence of spirits within its ancient walls. Among the most frequently reported occurrences are doors slamming without cause, heavy wooden doors leading to side chapels, offices, or storage areas often close abruptly, startling anyone nearby. Sometimes the slams repeat, doors swinging back and forth as if pushed by an invisible force. Visitors describe the sound echoing across the nave, filling the church with a sudden, chilling resonance. These incidents occur without any wind or human intervention, leaving those present with an uneasy sense that the church itself is alive, its walls holding on to energy from countless prayers and ceremonies over the centuries. Shadows moving along the pews and aisles are another common experience. Witnesses report seeing figures that seem human, gliding silently across the floor or along the walls, pausing as though observing those who enter. Often these shadows appear in empty pews or corners of the church, vanishing when approached. Some describe them as wearing the faint outline of robes or garments, as if they are echoes of parishioners or clergy who once worshipped and worked here. Others note that these shadows seem to carry a presence of purpose, not merely drifting randomly, but moving with intent, as if replaying actions from long ago. Cold drafts are frequently felt throughout St. Mary's Church, often appearing without warning. Visitors walking through the nave or alongside corridors report sudden chills that sweep across the body, even on warm nights. Many describe the sensation of invisible hands brushing past their shoulders or necks, or a cold wave passing through them as they approach certain areas, such as near the altar or the choir loft. These unexplained drafts give the impression that unseen presences are not only observing, but interacting, guiding, or simply acknowledging the living as they move through the sacred space. Ghostly chanting is another phenomenon reported by those who explore the church after hours. Faint, distant voices sometimes echo through the empty aisles, chanting prayers in unrecognizable tones. The chanting can appear to come from the choir loft, side chapels, or even from nowhere in particular, filling the church with an eerie yet reverent sound. Witnesses have described the voices as layered, as if multiple spirits are speaking or praying at once, creating a chorus that resonates through the wooden pews and stone floors. Some interpret this as the lingering devotion of past parishioners, continuing their prayers long after life has left them. The architecture of St. Mary's Church may contribute to these phenomena. Its high ceilings, long corridors, and reflective surfaces can amplify sounds and create shifting patterns of light and shadow. Candlelight flickering in stained glass windows or artificial lighting in dim areas can cast illusions of movement, while the echo of footsteps and whispered voices can travel unpredictably through the space. Yet the consistency and frequency of reported activity, slamming doors, moving shadows, cold drafts, and chanting suggests something beyond natural optical or acoustic effects. Visitors often recount moments of direct interaction with these unseen presences. Some describe being guided to pews or altars by an invisible force, or feeling a gentle pressure nudging them along a particular path. Choir members practicing late at night have noted sensations of hands guiding their movements, or subtle shifts in the air that feel almost instructional. Others feel watched, a silent awareness that someone or something is observing their every move. These experiences blend the spiritual and the supernatural, leaving a lingering impression that the line between the living and the spectral is thin within the church. Some of the most unnerving encounters involve shadowy figures appearing in the pews during quiet moments. Witnesses have reported sitting alone in the nave, only to sense a presence next to them or across the aisle. When they turn to look, nothing is there, yet the feeling of proximity remains. Others have seen the shapes of figures kneeling or bowing in prayer, shadows of devotion frozen in time. The movements are subtle, fleeting, and often disappear when approached, leaving a sense of wonder, unease, and a recognition of the Church's long memory of human devotion. Christ Episcopal Church in Tacoma stands as a solemn monument to faith, its stone walls and pointed arches stretching toward the sky. Generations have walked its aisles, offering prayers, attending weddings, baptisms, and funerals, leaving the building steeped in centuries of devotion and human presence. Yet alongside its sacred atmosphere, Christ Episcopal has long been associated with strange and unexplained occurrences, giving the church a reputation for paranormal activity that has intrigued visitors, parishioners, and curious explorers alike. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are doors that slam without any apparent cause. Heavy wooden doors leading to side chapels, offices, and storage areas often swing shut with a sharp bang, startling those nearby. Sometimes, the slamming repeats in quick succession, the echoes reverberating through the nave as if the church itself were communicating in an unknown language. Visitors consistently describe these sounds occurring in the absence of wind, staff, or other human intervention, suggesting that something unseen is moving within the building. Shadowy figures are another frequent experience in Christ's Episcopal. Witnesses report seeing shapes that resemble human forms gliding silently along the aisles, the nave, or side corridors. Some describe these figures as robed, moving with deliberate intent rather than drifting randomly. Others note that the shadows often appear near locations of past ceremonies or significant church activities, such as near the altar, along pews, or inside the choir loft. The figures vanish when approached, leaving only the lingering impression of a presence that is both respectful and watchful. Flickering lights are reported throughout the church, often in the absence of electrical issues. Candles on the altar or side shrines may flare or dim inexplicably, while electric lights overhead flicker as if disturbed by an unseen hand. Witnesses describe sudden changes in brightness during quiet moments, creating an eerie atmosphere that seems to accentuate the sense of otherworldly presence. These incidents are not limited to one area, but are observed throughout the church, from the sanctuary to hallways, giving the impression that the entire building is imbued with spectral energy. Many visitors report feeling invisible hands guiding them across the sanctuary or into side chapels. Parishioners attending late-night services or exploring the church after hours describe the sensation of being gently nudged or directed, as if an unseen force wishes them to follow a particular path. Choir members have recounted subtle pressures encouraging certain movements, or the sense that an unseen instructor is present during practice. These experiences are accompanied by cold drafts that sweep across the nave, moving unpredictably and adding to the impression that the church is alive in a way that transcends the natural. Ghostly footsteps are another recurring phenomenon. Visitors hear the soft tapping of shoes on wooden floors, pacing along the aisles or moving toward the altar, yet see no one. These footsteps often follow them, halting when they stop, or approaching from hallways where no person is present. Some witnesses report hearing the sounds of faint whispers accompanying the steps, voices that cannot be attributed to any living person and that seem to carry a message too subtle to comprehend. Shadowy figures are sometimes seen in the pews or near the altar, giving the impression that past parishioners are reliving moments of worship. Observers have described shapes kneeling in prayer, bowing their heads, or standing as if in reverence, only to disappear when attention is directed at them. Some report glimpsing figures in the choir loft or alongside aisles, robed and ethereal, appearing to observe the living while replaying rituals long past. These visions often leave visitors with a sense of awe mixed with unease, as though they are witnessing a spiritual continuity beyond the boundaries of life and death. The architecture of Christ Episcopal may enhance these experiences. Its high ceilings, stone walls, and reflective surfaces create echoes that amplify sounds and shadows, while the interplay of candlelight and stained glass windows can distort light and create illusions of movement. Yet the consistency of reports, doors slamming, shadowy figures, flickering lights, cold drafts, and ghostly guidance suggests phenomena that are not merely illusions or architectural quirks. Many who enter the church are struck by a palpable sense of presence, a feeling that unseen eyes are observing and interacting with them in subtle, mysterious ways. Some visitors recount moments of direct, almost personal interaction. They describe being guided toward specific pews, altars, or side chapels, feeling a gentle pressure or invisible hand leading them. Choir members have experienced subtle nudges that seem to assist in musical movements, or whispers that feel instructional. Other visitors simply feel watched, a silent awareness of an unseen congregation that mirrors the devotion of the living. These experiences blur the lines between the spiritual and the supernatural, leaving a lasting impression that Christ Episcopal is more than just a building. It is a repository of lingering devotion. Christ Episcopal Church in Tacoma remains a place where the sacred and the unexplained intersect. The doors that slam, shadows that glide, lights that flicker, and invisible hands guiding the living all contribute to an atmosphere both reverent and haunting. Visitors leave with a profound sense of the church's enduring presence, aware that within its walls the spirits of past parishioners continue to watch, pray, and move among the living. These spectral echoes serve as a reminder that Christ Episcopal is not only a place of worship, but also a threshold where history, faith, and the unknown converge, leaving every visitor with the sense that the building holds a life beyond what can be seen or touched. Our Lady of Lourdes in Seattle is a striking example of Gothic-inspired architecture, its stone walls and pointed arches rising solemnly against the city skyline. Though the church has long been a place of worship and community, it also carries a reputation for strange and unexplained phenomena, drawing both the faithful and the curious to explore its haunted history. Visitors frequently report experiences that defy natural explanation, creating an atmosphere that blends the sacred with the spectral. One of the most commonly reported phenomena at Our Lady of Lourdes is the slamming of doors without any apparent cause. Heavy wooden doors, often leading to side chapels, offices, or storage areas, have been heard to bang shut suddenly, sometimes repeatedly. Witnesses describe the sound echoing through the nave and hallways, startling anyone present. What makes these incidents particularly unsettling is that they occur in the absence of wind, staff, or other human activity. The doors seem to act independently, as if unseen hands were at work, sending a silent message or replaying echoes of past events. Shadows moving in impossible ways are another frequent occurrence. Visitors often report seeing dark shapes gliding along the walls, across the pews, or even hovering near the altar. Some describe these figures as having human-like form, while others see only indistinct silhouettes that seem to defy gravity, moving through the air or bending around corners in ways that should be physically impossible. These apparitions appear most often during quiet hours, when the church is empty, yet they are sometimes observed during services, flickering at the edge of the congregation's vision before vanishing. Faint chanting adds to the church's eerie ambience. Several visitors have reported hearing quiet, rhythmic chanting or whispered prayers emanating from empty rooms or corridors. The sounds are subtle but unmistakable, carrying the cadence of rituals long past. Choir members and parishioners who explore the church after hours have occasionally described these whispers as forming coherent phrases, almost like an invisible liturgy being performed by unseen clergy. The chanting is often accompanied by a sense of movement in the shadows, as if spirits are actively engaged in spiritual practices that transcend time. Ghostly clergy performing rituals is another consistent account. Witnesses report seeing figures dressed in traditional vestments moving toward the altar, making gestures that resemble ceremonial blessings or processions. Some describe the figures lighting candles, arranging sacred objects, or walking solemnly through the nave. These apparitions vanish when approached or observed directly, leaving only a sense of lingering devotion and a faint scent of incense. Visitors often describe a profound emotional impact, feeling both awe and unease as they witness what seems to be a spiritual echo of centuries of worship. Cold drafts and sudden temperature drops are also frequently reported. Certain corners of the church, particularly near the altar, the choir loft, or side chapels, feel noticeably colder than surrounding areas. Even on warm days, visitors have felt invisible presences brushing past them. A sensation often accompanied by the flicker of candle flames or the rustle of unseen garments. These inexplicable chills contribute to the impression that the building itself is alive, imbued with the spiritual energy of those who once walked its aisles. Footsteps that cannot be explained are another common occurrence. The soft tapping of shoes on stone floors or wooden planks is frequently heard, sometimes pacing along the nave, climbing stairways, or approaching side chapels. Witnesses often report that the footsteps mimic the rhythm of prayers or rituals, as if the unseen presence is moving deliberately and purposefully. These sounds are sometimes accompanied by whispers or murmurs that feel like guidance or warnings, heightening the sense of being observed by spirits with intent. Stained glass windows and candlelight often enhance the church's spectral atmosphere. Flickering reflections cast colors across walls and floors, creating illusions of movement that seem almost alive. Some visitors report seeing the shadows of figures reflected in the glass, moving independently of any person in the building. Candles on altars or inside shrines may flare, dim, or extinguish on their own, adding an unpredictable rhythm to the haunted environment. These visual cues, combined with sounds and sensations, create a layered experience that feels both sacred and supernatural. The combination of slamming doors, shadows in impossible motion, faint chanting, ghostly clergy, and sudden chills suggests that Our Lady of Lourdes is more than simply a historical building. Many who visit describe an awareness of lingering spirits, a sense that the past and present coexist within its walls. The experiences are subtle, yet undeniable, leaving a lasting impression that the church is alive with echoes of devotion and mystery. Some visitors report moments of personal interaction with the unseen. They describe being guided towards certain pews, altars, or side chapels, feeling a gentle pressure or invisible hand leading them. Choir members practicing after hours have felt encouragement in the form of subtle nudges or sensed the presence of an unseen conductor guiding their movements. Others feel watched or accompanied, a silent presence that mirrors their own devotion, reinforcing the idea that the spirits of former parishioners and clergy remain connected to the living world. Within Our Lady of Lourdes, the sacred and the supernatural intersect. Doors slam without cause, shadows glide through the nave, whispers of prayers echo through empty halls, and ghostly clergy continue their rituals long after human worshippers have left. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates an experience that is both reverent and unsettling. Visitors leave with the impression that the church is a vessel for the devotion, memory, and lingering spirits of generations past. St. John the Baptist Church in Vancouver stands as a testament to history, its stone walls and towering steeple casting a solemn presence over the surrounding neighborhood. Though the church continues to host services and community events, it has long been associated with a reputation for paranormal activity. Visitors and parishioners alike have reported a variety of unexplained phenomena, creating an atmosphere that is at once sacred and unsettling. Those who step inside often feel that the building itself carries the weight of countless decades of devotion, loss, and lingering spirits. One of the most frequently reported occurrences is the sudden slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors leading to side chapels, storage rooms, and offices have been known to close with a force that startles anyone nearby. These events are particularly mysterious because they often occur in the absence of wind, staff, or any identifiable source of motion. The slams sometimes echo through the nave, reverberating along the stone walls and amplifying the sense of isolation in the quiet church. Witnesses have described feeling a presence behind the doors, as if unseen hands were moving with intent, repeating gestures from a past era. Shadowy figures are another common phenomenon reported at St. John the Baptist. Visitors have described seeing dark silhouettes kneeling in prayer along the pews or at the side altars. These figures often appear partially translucent, and their presence is subtle but unmistakable. Some witnesses report that these shadowy forms remain motionless for several minutes, while others see them rising, crossing the aisles, or disappearing through walls. It is not uncommon for a visitor to glance at an empty pew and feel that someone is kneeling just beyond their peripheral vision, only to have the figure vanish when fully observed. The apparitions are often reported during AF hours, but some have been seen during quiet moments between services, adding to the church's haunted aura. Cold spots and sudden drops in temperature are another hallmark of the church's supernatural activity. Certain areas along the aisles, near the altar, and inside chapels are consistently reported as noticeably colder than the surrounding space, regardless of season or weather. Visitors often feel a chilling presence brush against them as they move through these zones, sometimes accompanied by a sense of being watched or guided. The cold spots are not only physical sensations but also emotional triggers, evoking feelings of unease and heightened awareness. Some parishioners describe the experience as both chilling and reverent, a reminder of the long history and lingering spirits within the building. Ghostly footsteps echoing through the hallways are another recurring report. The sound of shoes tapping against the stone or wooden floors, often following a rhythmic pattern, has been heard by multiple visitors. These footsteps sometimes travel along the main aisle, climb staircases, or circle side chapels, only to fade abruptly. Witnesses describe a sensation of being followed or accompanied by unseen presences, a subtle reminder that the church is not empty, even when it appears so. Some have reported hearing footsteps in sync with their own movements, as if invisible parishioners were mirroring their path, while others experience a mismatch in rhythm, creating a sense of disorientation and wonder. Faint whispers have also been reported within the church. These are often low, almost indecipherable murmurs, echoing through hallways, near pews, or around the altar. Some claim to hear fragments of prayers, phrases from hymns, or the rustle of unseen robes accompanying the sounds. The whispers can be fleeting or persistent, sometimes catching visitors off guard and other times blending seamlessly with the natural acoustics of the stone walls. Whether interpreted as messages, warnings, or echoes of devotion, the whispers reinforce the feeling that the church is alive with the presence of those who have come before. Lighting anomalies contribute to the church's spectral atmosphere. Candle flames in the chapel flicker unpredictably, even when there is no draft, casting shifting shadows across walls and pews. In some instances, overhead lights have dimmed or brightened without electrical cause, leaving witnesses with the impression that the illumination itself is responding to unseen forces. These visual cues often accompany the movement of shadows or the sound of footsteps, creating a multi-sensory experience that feels both sacred and otherworldly. Some visitors have reported more intimate interactions with the spirits of St. John the Baptist Church. Parishioners entering certain pews feel as though invisible presences guide them to sit in a particular spot. Choir members practicing after hours sometimes experience subtle nudges, as if an unseen conductor is shaping their movements. These interactions are gentle, almost ritualistic, and leave a lasting impression of connection to the church's spiritual history. The cumulative effect of slamming doors, shadowy figures, cold spots, ghostly footsteps, whispers, and flickering lights creates an atmosphere that is both reverent and unsettling. Visitors consistently describe a sense that the building itself is imbued with the memories, devotions, and spirits of countless past worshipers. The church's architecture, with its high ceilings, stone walls, and hidden alcoves, seems to amplify these experiences, providing the perfect setting for apparitions and paranormal phenomena to manifest. Those who explore St. John the Baptist Church often leave with a heightened awareness of the unseen world. Every sound, every flicker of light, and every subtle movement feels charged with significance. The church endures not only as a place of worship, but as a repository of spiritual echoes, silently observing, guiding, and interacting with those who enter. Its haunting presence reminds visitors that the past and present coexist here, blending faith, memory, and mystery in a timeless embrace. St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Tacoma is a venerable building whose centuries-old architecture holds more than just the echoes of worship. Over the years, it has gained a reputation for paranormal activity, drawing the curious and the brave to explore its sacred halls. Parishioners and visitors alike report unusual phenomena that suggest the presence of unseen spirits lingering within its stone walls and wooden pews. Those who step inside often feel an unsettling blend of reverence and apprehension, as if the church itself remembers every prayer, every hymn, and every life that passed through its doors. One of the most commonly reported experiences at St. Mary's is the sudden slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors leading to chapels, vestries, and offices often swing shut with a force that startles even the most composed visitors. These events occur without wind, staff, or any visible cause, leaving witnesses puzzled and, at times, unnerved. Some describe hearing the doors slam repeatedly, in quick succession, echoing through the empty nave and amplifying the sensation that the church is alive with invisible presences. The sound of a door slamming in an otherwise silent corridor seems to act almost as a warning, a reminder that the space is not entirely empty. Shadowy figures are another hallmark of the church's haunted reputation. Visitors frequently report seeing dark silhouettes moving along aisles, kneeling at pews, or pacing near the altar. These shadows often appear fleetingly, disappearing when fully observed, leaving only the lingering sense that something or someone was present moments before. Some witnesses describe the shadows as having a subtle glow or translucency, emphasizing their otherworldly nature. They are sometimes seen performing familiar gestures, crossing themselves, bowing, or kneeling in prayers, if repeating the routines of past clergy or parishioners. For many, these sightings are more than mere apparitions. They feel like a connection to the church's spiritual history. Cold spots and sudden drops in temperature are frequently reported throughout St. Mary's. Certain areas of the church, particularly near the altar, side chapels, and along the aisles, can feel markedly colder than the surrounding space. Visitors often describe an almost physical sensation of being watched or guided when entering these zones. The cold seems to brush against the skin, a subtle but persistent reminder of the presence of unseen forces. Some parishioners note that these chills evoke both fear and reverence, highlighting the church's dual identity as a sacred space and a site of lingering spirits. Whispers of prayers have been reported in empty rooms, sometimes faint and indistinct, other times clearer and more urgent. These murmurs often seem to come from nowhere, echoing off stone walls and wooden beams. Visitors claim to hear fragments of hymns, whispered invocations, or the rustling of vestments accompanying the sound. The whispers can be fleeting, disappearing as quickly as they begin, leaving witnesses with a haunting sense of being accompanied by unseen worshipers. Some suggest that these voices are echoes of past congregations, their devotion etched into the very fabric of the church. Unexplained lights, flickering on altars and inside chapels, further contribute to the church's eerie reputation. Candles and lamps have been known to flare suddenly, dim unexpectedly, or illuminate without any visible flame or electrical cause. These visual anomalies often coincide with other supernatural occurrences, such as moving shadows or whispered prayers. The flickering lights seem almost intentional, as if the unseen occupants are drawing attention to certain areas or events within the church. For those who witness these phenomena, the effect is both mesmerizing and unsettling, reinforcing the sense that St. Mary's is alive in ways beyond the ordinary. Ghostly footsteps echoing through the hallways are another frequent report. Visitors hear the sound of shoes tapping across stone and wood floors, moving rhythmically along the nave, climbing staircases, or circling side chapels. Sometimes the footsteps follow a visitor's path exactly, creating a sensation of being accompanied by invisible parishioners. Other times, they move independently, creating an unsettling sense of unpredictability and mystery. The presence of these sounds, combined with shadowy figures and flickering lights, creates a multi-sensory experience that leaves visitors both awed and unnerved. Some visitors have described more intimate interactions with the spirits of St. Mary's Episcopal Church. Parishioners entering certain pews feel as if unseen hands guide them to sit in particular spots. Choir members practicing after hours have reported subtle nudges or cues, almost like an invisible conductor shaping their performance. These experiences are never violent but leave a lasting impression of connection to the church's spiritual history. The apparitions and interactions seem to embody a reverence and devotion that persists beyond the grave. The cumulative effect of slamming doors, moving shadows, cold spots, ghostly footsteps, whispered prayers, and flickering lights creates a haunting yet sacred atmosphere within St. Mary's. Visitors consistently report a sense that the building is imbued with the memories, prayers, and devotion of generations of worshippers. Its Gothic arches, stained glass windows, and hidden alcoves provide the perfect environment for supernatural activity, amplifying the sense that the past and present coexist in quiet harmony. St. Patrick's Church in Seattle stands as a testament to Gothic architecture and centuries of devotion, but it is also a place whispered about for its lingering, supernatural presence. For decades, parishioners, staff, and visitors alike have reported phenomena that suggest the church is far from empty. Doors slam without cause, shadows move independently of the light, and sudden cold drafts sweep through pews, often accompanied by faint, untraceable singing that seems to come from nowhere. These experiences create an eerie blend of awe and apprehension for those who enter the sacred space. One of the most frequent occurrences reported at St. Patrick's Church is the inexplicable slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, some centuries old, swing violently closed even when there is no wind or human interference. Witnesses describe the doors slamming with a force that echoes through the nave, startling anyone nearby. Sometimes, doors slam repeatedly, creating a rhythm that feels almost purposeful, as if the church itself is alive and attempting to communicate. Staff members working late at night have reported doors shutting behind them when they know they left them open, or opening again minutes later without any logical explanation. The sound of a door slamming in the otherwise quiet church is a recurring hallmark of the haunting, and for many, it is both frightening and mesmerizing. Another commonly reported phenomenon is the presence of ghostly figures dressed in choir robes. These apparitions are often seen gliding along the aisles, kneeling at pews, or standing near the altar as if preparing for a service that no longer exists. Witnesses describe these figures as semi-transparent, moving fluidly yet deliberately, with robes that ripple as though caught in an invisible breeze. The figures are sometimes seen singing, but when visitors strain to hear the words, the melodies dissolve into faint whispers that fade quickly. Choir members practicing after hours have even reported seeing these figures following their movements, almost as if offering guidance or silently joining in the practice. Many believe these spirits are former choir members or devoted parishioners, their devotion so strong it has lingered beyond death. Cold drafts sweeping through the pews are another frequent experience. Some visitors describe the air becoming noticeably colder in specific sections of the church, often near the altar or along certain aisles. The chills appear suddenly and dissipate just as quickly, sometimes accompanied by a sense of being watched or guided. These cold spots are often reported alongside other paranormal events, such as doors slamming or faint singing, suggesting a connection between the temperature fluctuations and the presence of unseen forces. Visitors have described feeling an almost physical brush against their shoulders or arms as they sit in these areas, a subtle reminder that the church is not entirely empty. Faint, untraceable singing adds a haunting auditory dimension to the experiences at St. Patrick's Church. Often described as ethereal and distant, the voices seem to echo through the halls, blending with the natural acoustics of the building. Sometimes the singing appears to respond to visitors, growing slightly louder as they approach a particular aisle or pew, then fading as they move away. Choir members and visitors alike have reported hearing these voices when practicing or exploring the church at night. Noting that no instruments or amplifiers are in use, the melodies are often fragmentary, incomplete, and tinged with a mournful quality, reinforcing the sense of connection to spirits who remain devoted to worship long after their passing. Shadowy figures are seen moving independently of any light source, often along walls or in corners where one would expect only darkness. Visitors have reported shadows that do not match their own, sometimes stretching across the floor or scaling walls in unnatural ways. Some shadows appear to pause and watch, while others glide silently, vanishing when approached. These movements are often accompanied by other phenomena, such as cold drafts or the sudden slamming of doors, creating an immersive experience of the supernatural. Many who witness these shadows describe a feeling of being part of a scene that repeats itself endlessly, a spectral rehearsal of devotion and ritual. Unexplained sounds add to the church's haunting atmosphere. Footsteps echoing across the floors, the rustle of robes, or the soft clatter of objects moving without cause are commonly reported. Sometimes these sounds occur in empty hallways or side chapels, producing a sense of presence that is both tangible and unsettling. Visitors report hearing footsteps following them as they move through the church, stopping when they stop and resuming when they continue, as though invisible parishioners are accompanying them on their journey. The combination of sights, sounds, and sensations ensures that St. Patrick's Church remains a place where the past feels vividly alive. Some visitors have reported more intimate encounters with the church's spirits. Parishioners entering certain pews feel invisible hands guiding them to sit in particular spots. Choir members practicing after hours have described subtle nudges or cues, almost like an unseen director shaping the performance. These interactions are never harmful, but create a strong sense of connection to the church as history and spiritual energy. The apparitions and phenomena suggest that the spirits are not merely haunting but participating, maintaining their devotion to the rituals of worship even in death. The combined effect of slamming doors, ghostly choir figures, cold drafts, shadowy movements, faint singing, and unexplained footsteps creates an atmosphere that is at once sacred and chilling. Visitors report feeling the presence of past worshipers, clergy, and choir members, as if time has layered upon itself within the church's walls. St. Patrick's Church in Seattle is not merely a place of worship. It is a repository of devotion, memory, and lingering spirits. Those who step inside are often left with a profound sense of the sacred intertwined with the supernatural, experiencing a space where the spiritual and the spectral coexist in quiet harmony. St. James Episcopal Church in Tacoma stands as a striking example of Gothic architecture. Its spires reaching skyward and its stained glass windows casting colorful patterns across the nave. Yet, beyond its beauty and sacred purpose, the church is known for an unusual and persistent presence, the lingering spirits of past parishioners and clergy. Over the years, countless visitors and staff have reported inexplicable phenomena, from doors slamming without cause to shadowy figures pacing the aisles, and candle flames that flicker as though reacting to invisible observers. These occurrences have earned the church a reputation as one of Tacoma's most haunted sacred sites. Among the most frequently reported incidents are doors slamming abruptly in empty corridors. Heavy wooden doors, some worn with age, swing shut with force and echo through the otherwise silent church. Visitors describe the sound as sudden and startling, often occurring when no one is nearby or when the air is calm and windless. In some cases, doors slam repeatedly, producing a rhythmic pattern that can feel almost deliberate, as though the building itself is attempting to communicate with the living. Church staff, who work late into the night, often report doors closing behind them when they were certain they had left them open, or opening again moments later with no one in sight. The sound of a slamming door has become a signature of the haunting, signaling that something unseen is present within the sacred walls. Another hallmark of the church's paranormal activity is the appearance of shadowy figures. Visitors describe silhouettes moving independently along the aisles, sometimes kneeling at pews or standing near the altar. These figures often appear semi-transparent, as though fading in and out of existence, and move with deliberate, sometimes ceremonial motions. Many witnesses feel a sense of recognition or familiarity in these apparitions, believing them to be former parishioners or clergy continuing their devotions long after death. Some figures are reported wearing robes, reminiscent of choirs or clergy, and glide silently across the sanctuary, vanishing when approached or disappearing into corners where shadows naturally gather. These ghostly presences are frequently accompanied by other phenomena, such as sudden chills or faint, echoing footsteps, enhancing the sense that the church is alive with unseen life. Flickering candlelight is another eerie feature of St. James Episcopal Church. Candles placed on altars, alongside chapels, or near the nave appear to respond to invisible presences. Flames tilt, brighten, or extinguish without any discernible cause, creating dancing shadows that add to the ethereal atmosphere. Some visitors report that the candlelight seems to follow them, flickering more intensely as they move closer and dimming as they step away. During evening services or late-night visits, these fluctuations can create the impression that spirits are conducting their own rituals, unseen but ever present. The combination of flickering flames and ghostly figures produces a surreal and immersive experience, leaving many visitors both awed and unnerved. In addition to visual phenomena, auditory experiences are commonly reported. Faint whispers echo through empty aisles, often following visitors as they move through the church. Some claim to hear the soft rustling of robes, footsteps on polished wooden floors, or low murmurs that resemble prayer or chanting. Choir members practicing after hours have recounted hearing spectral voices harmonizing alongside them, only for the sounds to vanish when they attempt to identify the source. These auditory encounters contribute to a feeling that the church is not only haunted but actively engaged in the continuation of its sacred rituals, preserving the devotion of those who came before. Cold drafts sweeping through the church add another layer of supernatural presence. Visitors report sudden chills in certain areas, often near the altar, the side chapels, or the rear aisles. These cold spots appear without explanation, as heating systems and weather conditions cannot account for the sudden drop in temperature. Sometimes, the chills coincide with other phenomena, such as a door slamming or a shadow passing by, heightening the perception of an unseen presence nearby. Some witnesses even describe the sensation of an invisible hand brushing against their shoulders or guiding them to a particular pew, as if the spirits are gently directing the living participants within the sacred space. Phantom footsteps are a recurring theme, echoing across the floors of the church long after services have ended. Visitors and staff report hearing deliberate pacing along the aisles, sometimes accelerating or slowing as if following a rhythm known only to the spirits themselves. These footsteps often appear alongside visual manifestations or cold drafts, reinforcing the sense that the church is inhabited by those who remain devoted to their routines, even in death. Guests exploring the church late at night frequently describe a sensation of being accompanied by unseen parishioners, feeling a presence close yet imperceptible, observing and participating silently. The combination of slamming doors, shadowy figures, flickering candlelight, ghostly whispers, cold drafts, and phantom footsteps creates an atmosphere that is both sacred and unsettling. Visitors describe a palpable sense of history, devotion, and lingering spirit. Many leave with a deep impression that St. James Episcopal Church is not simply a building for worship, but a living repository of faith, memory, and spectral energy. The church's walls seem to resonate with centuries of devotion, replaying rituals, prayers, and footsteps of those who remain, creating an experience that is profoundly spiritual and eerily supernatural. St. Peter's Church in Seattle is an imposing structure, its tall steeple and Gothic architecture commanding attention from the surrounding streets. For centuries, it has served as a place of worship, community, and solace. Yet beyond its spiritual significance, it has developed a reputation for the unexplained. Visitors and parishioners alike have reported strange occurrences that suggest the church is haunted by lingering presences, creating an atmosphere that is both sacred and unsettling. Doors slam without warning, footsteps echo along empty aisles, and shadowy figures appear and vanish within the nave. These phenomena have earned St. Peter's a place among Seattle's most intriguing and mysterious religious sites. One of the most commonly reported events at St. Peter's is the sudden slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, some centuries old, swing shut with force even when no one is near. Parishioners attending evening services have sometimes experienced doors closing abruptly behind them, startling and echoing through the silent church. These slams are not isolated to entrances. Side doors, sacristy doors, and even doors leading to smaller chapels have been reported to move violently on their own. Staff members working late into the night often describe multiple slams in sequence, each sounding deliberate and rhythmic, as if signaling or communicating something beyond human comprehension. The phenomenon is especially unnerving in the otherwise still, candlelit corridors, where the sound of a slamming door reverberates like a warning or an announcement of presence. Equally unsettling are the ghostly footsteps heard throughout the church. Visitors report hearing the soft tread of shoes along the polished wooden floors, often when they are alone or the building is entirely empty. These steps seem purposeful, sometimes pacing slowly down the nave, other times ascending toward the choir loft or the altar, only to vanish suddenly. Choir members, rehearsing after hours, have recounted hearing these phantom steps accompanying their own, maintaining an eerie rhythm that cannot be traced to any living participant. Occasionally, the footsteps stop abruptly, leaving an uncanny silence that heightens the sense of an invisible presence hovering nearby. Witnesses describe a sensation of being followed, a quiet awareness that something unseen is observing their every movement within the sacred space. Shadowy figures are another hallmark of the church's paranormal activity. Visitors have seen fleeting silhouettes near the pews, moving silently across the nave or kneeling in prayer near the altar. These figures often appear translucent, fading in and out of view, and sometimes take on human forms reminiscent of clergy or devoted parishioners. Their movements are deliberate and calm, echoing the solemnity of religious practice, as though they are replaying rituals from years or decades past. Attempts to approach or interact with these figures often result in their sudden disappearance, leaving only the lingering impression of presence and devotion. Some witnesses report that these shadows appear especially near stained glass windows, where colored light seems to highlight their forms, making them more visible, yet no less elusive. Cold drafts are frequently reported alongside visual and auditory phenomena. Visitors often feel sudden chills in certain areas of the church, particularly near the altar, side chapels, or along the central aisle. These cold spots appear without warning, sometimes coinciding with the appearance of shadowy figures or the sound of phantom footsteps. Even on warm nights, these drafts can be intense, producing goosebumps and an overwhelming sense of an unseen presence. Some parishioners describe the feeling of invisible hands brushing against their shoulders or guiding them toward a particular pew or corner, as if the spirits are gently directing their movements within the sacred space. Phantom singing adds another eerie layer to the church's haunting. On quiet nights, some visitors report hearing soft, ethereal chanting or hymns echoing from empty pews or the choir loft. Choir members rehearsing late have recounted hearing additional harmonies or voices joining them, only to vanish when they try to locate the source. The singing is often described as mournful, yet reverent, carrying the tones of devotion and prayer. It creates an otherworldly atmosphere, as if the church itself continues to host congregations beyond the physical realm, preserving the rituals and devotions of those who have long since passed. The combination of slamming doors, ghostly footsteps, shadowy figures, cold drafts, and phantom singing forms a haunting tableau at St. Peter's Church. Visitors often report a profound sense of history and reverence intertwined with unease, as if they are not alone but sharing the space with presences from the past. The phenomena are unpredictable, sometimes subtle and fleeting, other times startling and persistent, creating an immersive experience that engages multiple senses. Even those who enter with skepticism often leave with a sense of wonder and apprehension, sensing that the church is more than a building of stone and wood. St. Peter's seems to hold the memories, prayers, and devotion of generations, replaying them in quiet, spectral echoes that merge the sacred with the supernatural. Shadowy figures glide silently, footsteps trace invisible paths, doors slam with no apparent cause, cold drafts sweep through empty pews, and ghostly voices sing from unseen corners. In these moments, visitors glimpse a world where faith endures beyond the physical, and the church itself becomes a living witness to devotion, memory, and the lingering presence of spirits who refuse to rest. St. Anne's Catholic Church in Olympia stands as a beacon of faith, history, and architecture, yet it has developed a reputation that goes beyond its spiritual significance. Those who have visited after hours or during quiet moments often report experiences that defy explanation. Doors slam without warning, shadows drift across the pews, and ghostly figures are seen kneeling at the altar. These unusual events have made St. Anne's a place of both reverence and mystery, attracting parishioners, historians, and paranormal enthusiasts who hope to witness the unexplained firsthand. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at St. Anne's is the sudden slamming of doors. Large wooden doors, some dating back decades, are said to close violently without any discernible cause. Parishioners attending evening services have described feeling a rush of air followed by the loud, startling slam of doors that had previously been secured. These occurrences are not limited to the main entrances. Side doors leading to confessionals, small chapels, and storage areas have also been observed moving on their own. Staff who worked late into the evening have recounted multiple slams occurring in sequence, almost rhythmically, as if an unseen force is marking its presence. The sudden noise in an otherwise silent church creates a sense of tension, leaving visitors with the unnerving feeling that they are not alone. Ghostly footsteps are another hallmark of St. Anne's spectral activity. Many visitors report hearing the soft, deliberate tread of shoes along polished wooden floors, even when they are alone. These footsteps often seem purposeful, moving from the nave to the altar or wandering along the side aisles, only to vanish suddenly. Choir members rehearsing after hours have described these phantom footsteps accompanying their own, keeping pace in a manner that cannot be explained. Sometimes the sounds stop abruptly, leaving a heavy silence that heightens the sensation of a presence nearby. Witnesses often feel as though they are being observed, an invisible companion following them through the sacred space. Shadows moving across the pews add a visual dimension to the haunting. Visitors have seen fleeting silhouettes gliding silently across the floors, sometimes kneeling in prayer or shifting position along the benches. These figures are often described as human-like, yet indistinct, fading in and out of view. Attempts to approach or interact with the shadows generally result in them vanishing, leaving only the memory of movement and a sense of lingering devotion. Some witnesses note that the figures appear particularly near the altar or stained glass windows, as if drawn to the areas of greatest spiritual significance within the church. The shadows move with deliberate grace, suggesting a form of ritual or repetition of past actions. Many who experience the haunting also describe cold drafts in unusual places. Chilly air is reported along the pews, inside chapels, and near the altar, often appearing spontaneously and without an identifiable source. Even during warm days, these cold spots can be pronounced, producing goosebumps and a sense of unease. Some visitors report the sensation of invisible hands guiding them along the aisles, directing them toward pews, confessionals, or other points of interest within the church. These experiences are often subtle yet undeniable, leaving a lasting impression of unseen presence and intent. Ghostly figures at the altar are among the most commonly described manifestations. Witnesses have reported seeing spectral individuals kneeling in prayer, their forms pale and translucent, yet detailed enough to suggest vestments or traditional attire. These figures are most often observed during quiet evening hours or in near darkness, and they vanish when approached directly. Some parishioners claim to feel a sense of comfort in the presence of these apparitions, as if they are witnesses to ongoing devotion, while others describe an overwhelming chill and a sense of awe at being in the presence of something beyond the physical world. The combination of slamming doors, footsteps, moving shadows, cold drafts, and ghostly figures creates an immersive and haunting experience at St. Anne's. Visitors often describe a profound awareness of the church's history, feeling the layers of devotion and ritual accumulated over decades. Even skeptical observers leave with a sense that the space is alive in a way that transcends ordinary explanation. The church appears to be a place where the past lingers, replaying moments of worship, prayer, and presence through a subtle yet perceptible interaction with the living. Even ordinary moments in St. Anne's can take on an otherworldly quality. A silent pew, a flickering candle, or the sound of a door shifting can evoke the impression of unseen worshippers continuing their practices. Shadows glide where none should exist, footsteps echo where no one walks, and the air grows inexplicably cold in areas where people once knelt, prayed, or conducted services. The haunting is not always frightening. Many describe a sense of reverence intertwined with the unexplained, a recognition that the spiritual and supernatural coexist in the church's sacred space. St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Vancouver is a striking example of Gothic architecture, with soaring ceilings, stained glass windows, and a quiet reverence that has drawn worshippers for generations. Yet beneath its serene and sacred exterior, the church has developed a reputation for unexplained phenomena, attracting the attention of paranormal enthusiasts, curious visitors, and parishioners who have experienced events they cannot easily explain. Doors slam without warning, lights flicker unpredictably, and shadowy figures are seen moving along the walls, all contributing to the church's eerie and haunted reputation. One of the most frequently reported occurrences at St. Paul's is the sudden slamming of doors. Visitors have described walking through the nave or side corridors when, without any apparent cause, heavy wooden doors will close with a resounding bang. These slams are not limited to the main entrances. Smaller doors leading to side chapels, offices, or vestries have also been known to move abruptly. Staff working late have recounted sequences of slams in rapid succession, each echoing through the empty halls and leaving an unsettling impression. Even when multiple people are present, the origin of the movement often remains a mystery, as no drafts or mechanical faults can account for the force behind the noise. In addition to slamming doors, lights throughout the church have a history of flickering in ways that defy explanation. Chandeliers, suspended from the high ceilings, blink on and off, casting shadows that twist across the stone walls. Parishioners attending evening services have noted sudden, unexplained fluctuations in candlelight or electric lighting, often coinciding with moments of silence or reflection. Some witnesses report the lights dimming in one section of the church while simultaneously brightening in another, creating an effect that seems almost purposeful, as if highlighting specific areas or drawing attention to unseen presences. The flickering often triggers feelings of both awe and unease, enhancing the sense that the building itself is alive with energy. Shadows flitting along the walls are another hallmark of the haunting at St. Paul's. Visitors describe glimpsing figures moving in the corners of their vision, only to disappear when looked at directly. These apparitions range from vague silhouettes to more defined forms, occasionally resembling robed clergy or worshippers kneeling in prayer. Some witnesses report shadows moving independently of any natural light source, appearing to glide along walls or across the pews in ways that seem impossible. Choir members practicing late have mentioned shadows dancing in rhythm with music, as though echoing long-forgotten performances or ongoing devotion that continues beyond the physical presence of the living. Ghostly chanting is among the most chilling phenomena reported at St. Paul's. Many visitors have recounted hearing faint voices emanating from empty chapels or alcoves, chanting prayers in a language or cadence that seems both ancient and familiar. The sound is often intermittent, appearing and vanishing without warning, and is sometimes accompanied by a subtle sense of movement nearby. Some parishioners describe the chanting as soft and meditative, while others report feeling a sudden rush of cold air coinciding with the voices. The effect is hauntingly immersive, leaving listeners with the sense that the spiritual energy of the church persists beyond the physical confines of the building. Cold drafts are frequently associated with these ghostly occurrences. Certain areas, particularly near the side chapels, altar, and nave, are prone to sudden chills even on warm days. Visitors have reported feeling an invisible presence brush past them or sense a guiding force leading them through the aisles. These experiences are subtle, yet unmistakable, often creating an intimate and unsettling connection with the unseen inhabitants of the church. The combination of temperature shifts, sounds, and shadows contributes to the overall impression that St. Paul's is more than a historical or religious landmark. It is a space where the past continues to interact with the present. Many who have experienced these phenomena describe a heightened awareness of the church's history. Each step along the stone floors seems to echo with the footsteps of those who have walked before. The chanting and flickering lights, the shadows moving along walls, and the sudden slamming doors create an immersive environment where time feels layered. Visitors are not merely observing the architecture or participating in a religious service. They are encountering the lingering presence of generations of worshipers, clergy, and perhaps other unseen forces that have made St. Paul's their enduring home. The haunting at St. Paul's is not uniformly frightening. Many parishioners report a sense of reverence intertwined with the paranormal events. The shadows are often observed in prayerful postures, the voices chanting in devotional tones, and the movements of light and air seem deliberate rather than threatening. These phenomena appear to blend the sacred and the spectral, creating an experience that is both mysterious and spiritually resonant. Witnesses leave with a feeling of awe, a recognition that the church contains more than the physical structures. Of stone and wood, it is a vessel of lingering devotion and unseen presence. Holy Rosary Church in Seattle is a historic landmark renowned not only for its architectural beauty but also for the eerie stories that surround its walls. Visitors and parishioners alike have long reported experiences that defy explanation. Within the stone walls and beneath the towering ceilings, the church seems to harbor a presence beyond the living. From ghostly figures wandering the nave to doors slamming shut without cause, the building has developed a reputation for supernatural activity that has intrigued skeptics and believers alike. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at Holy Rosary Church is the sudden, unexplained slamming of doors. Parishioners arriving for early morning services or staff working late in the offices often hear the heavy wooden doors of chapels, vestries, and hallways swing violently closed with a force that cannot be attributed to wind or human interference. These occurrences are not only startling but seem almost deliberate, as if the church itself is communicating or asserting its presence. Witnesses describe a tense silence immediately following the slams, broken only by the echo of footsteps that seem to come from nowhere. Another recurring experience is the appearance of shadowy figures moving across the pews and aisles. Some are fleeting, barely glimpsed in the corner of an eye, while others take more defined forms. Visitors have described seeing figures that resemble clergy in long robes, silently performing rituals or walking along the aisles as if attending to duties long past. These apparitions often appear at night when the church is empty, moving deliberately and sometimes pausing in areas that historically were significant for services or prayer. Some witnesses report feeling a presence brushing past them or guiding them along the nave, reinforcing the sensation that the church is inhabited by more than just memories. Whispers are another hallmark of the haunting at Holy Rosary. Voices are often described as soft and indistinct, echoing across empty pews or drifting from chapels and alcoves. These whispers sometimes call out names, sometimes murmur prayers, and at times carry a tone of warning or guidance. They are reported to move with the visitor, growing fainter as one approaches the source, or conversely, fading into the distance, only to be heard again from another corner of the church. Staff and worshipers alike have spoken of the unsettling, yet strangely reverent nature of these sounds, suggesting a presence that is both attentive and purposeful. Lights within Holy Rosary Church are also reported to flicker without explanation. Candle flames tremble or flare suddenly, and electric lights sometimes shift from bright to dim in rapid succession. These phenomena are often synchronized with other occurrences, such as footsteps or whispers, creating an immersive experience that can be both unnerving and awe-inspiring. Witnesses have described these visual anomalies as though the church itself is subtly revealing its spectral inhabitants, drawing attention to areas where the spirits are most active. Perhaps the most striking reports involve the appearance of spectral clergy performing rituals in the dimly lit church at night. Some visitors claim to have observed figures in traditional vestments, conducting ceremonies in the main altar or side chapels, moving with precision and solemnity. The figures vanish when approached, leaving behind only a lingering sense of devotion and the faint scent of incense. Those who have witnessed these events describe a mixture of fear and fascination, often sensing that the church's past lives are replaying moments of spiritual significance. Independent of any living congregation, cold spots and sudden drafts frequently accompany the paranormal activity at Holy Rosary. Certain areas of the nave, chapels, or hallways can feel unnaturally chilly even during warm days, and the sensation of a cold breeze seems to follow visitors inexplicably. Some report feeling an invisible hand brush past them or a subtle pressure guiding them along the pews. These physical sensations, combined with auditory and visual phenomena, contribute to an immersive haunting that engages multiple senses and reinforces the impression of lingering spirits. Despite the unsettling experiences, many who encounter these phenomena describe a sense of reverence rather than terror. The figures, whispers, and slamming doors are often perceived as part of a spiritual presence that continues its devotion within the sacred space. Ghostly clergy appear focused on their ritual duties rather than interacting with the living, and whispers often carry a prayerful tone. Visitors leave Holy Rosary with a mixture of awe and respect, feeling connected to the church's long history and the lives of those who once worshipped there. The haunting at Holy Rosary Church also invites reflection on the continuity of faith and devotion. The building itself becomes a vessel not only for physical worship but for the enduring spiritual energy of those who came before. The echoes of footsteps, the fleeting figures in the pews, and the whispers across empty halls suggest a church that is alive, in a way beyond the corporeal, a place where time layers upon itself and past rituals are subtly intertwined with the present. St. Thomas Church in Tacoma stands as a quiet testament to both faith and history, its Gothic architecture casting long shadows that stretch across the surrounding streets. Yet beyond its religious significance, the church has developed a reputation for ghostly activity that has drawn both curiosity and unease. Visitors and parishioners alike have reported experiences that defy explanation, suggesting the presence of lingering spirits who remain attentive to the rhythms of the church long after the last congregation has departed. From doors slamming without cause to shadowy figures moving through empty aisles, the haunting of St. Thomas Church is subtle, unsettling, and persistent. One of the most common experiences reported by visitors is the sudden and inexplicable slamming of doors. Heavy wooden doors, both at the entrances and in interior chapels, have been known to swing shut with a force that seems beyond the influence of wind or human interference. These incidents often occur during quiet hours, when the building is empty or nearly so, creating an abrupt, startling echo that resonates through the nave. Witnesses describe a tense pause following the noise, a stillness broken only by the faint impression of footsteps or murmured whispers. The slamming doors are often interpreted as a signal of the church's spiritual presence, an announcement that the past remains active within its walls. Shadows moving independently of natural light sources are another hallmark of St. Thomas reported hauntings. Visitors frequently speak of shadowy figures gliding across the pews, hovering near the altar, or drifting through the corridors. These shapes sometimes appear fleeting and indistinct, catching the eye just at the edge of perception, while at other times they are more defined, resembling former clergy or parishioners moving with deliberate intent. Some witnesses describe seeing these figures pause mid-gesture, performing actions reminiscent of past rituals or prayers, before disappearing as if vanishing into thin air. The shadows often seem aware of the living, their movements precise yet detached, creating the impression of spirits continuing routines long after death. Flickering lights also contribute to the church's eerie atmosphere. Candles along the altars and side chapels often flare suddenly or dim without explanation, while electric lighting may fluctuate even when the switches are untouched. These visual anomalies often coincide with other occurrences, such as a passing shadow or a distant whisper, enhancing the sense of an unseen presence influencing the environment. The interplay of light and darkness in St. Thomas Church gives the building an otherworldly quality, blurring the line between the tangible and the spectral. Auditory phenomena further reinforce the church's haunted reputation. Visitors commonly report hearing ghostly footsteps along the aisles and corridors, especially when walking alone. These sounds often follow a rhythmic pattern, echoing as if someone is pacing or performing a familiar ritual. Whispers are also frequent, sometimes faint and unintelligible, other times carrying the suggestion of names being called or prayers being uttered. Many witnesses have described the combined effect of these experiences as both unsettling and reverent. The presence of shadowy figures, flickering lights, and disembodied sounds conveys a sense of continuity between past and present, as if the church is not merely a building but a living repository of its own history. Some report feeling invisible hands guiding them along the aisles or towards the altar, a sensation interpreted not as threatening but as a gentle reminder of devotion and ritual. The spirits at St. Thomas Church, by all accounts, do not seek to harm. Rather, they continue practices that were once central to the spiritual life of the building. The haunting at St. Thomas is also tied closely to the church's architecture. Its high ceilings, narrow corridors, and intricately carved wooden pews create acoustics that amplify even the slightest sound, making footsteps, whispers, and slams resonate more profoundly. Flickering candlelight and shadowed corners contribute to the feeling of being in the presence of something unseen, enhancing the experience for those attuned to the unusual phenomena. Visitors have often commented that the physical environment seems to invite or even sustain the activity, providing spaces where spirits might continue their routines unnoticed. Despite the unsettling nature of these occurrences, St. Thomas Church remains an active center of worship. The haunted reputation does not deter regular parishioners. In fact, many report a heightened sense of spiritual awareness when visiting, sensing a connection to the church's past that deepens their own faith. The ghosts, it seems, have become part of the narrative of the church itself, blending with the sacred rituals performed each day and reminding visitors of the enduring presence of those who came before. Cold drafts frequently accompany the paranormal activity, often appearing in the middle of warm days or in areas where no ventilation exists. These sudden drops in temperature, combined with fleeting shadows and whispering voices, contribute to the immersive sense of haunting. Visitors sometimes feel as though the building itself is alive, responding to their presence and revealing layers of history through sensory experiences that go beyond the visible. And there you have it, 25 haunted churches in Washington, where doors slam at night, shadows flit across empty pews, and ghostly presences linger long after the last hymn has ended. These sacred spaces remind us that some spirits never leave, and that the past can reach into the present with chilling persistence. If this journey into Washington's haunted churches sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another ghostly tale. Until next time, walk carefully through these hallowed halls, because some spirits never rest, and some doors slam for reasons beyond this world.